No, you don't have to
Say a lot.
bring the bot in. You can finish your dumb story. I'm just.
Oh no,
I
it's
wanted you to know my internet's really
no.
bad right now.
Is
No,
it
yeah,
raining really bad over there, or what?
No, I think he's just.
No, it's
He
fucking
has,
sunny.
That doesn't make
yeah, he just has like he has really shitty internet. It's like absurdly shitty. You really should just buckle down and finally let them get you fiber optic cable out there, man.
You really should.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Look, I'm fiddling with stuff. I got green bars right now, so somebody do
That's
the
weird.
dumb fucking Apple shit.
Okay. Apple.
I had to went back down to red Apple.
I believe that was 10 seconds. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Apple.
2.
That was about 5 that time. Let's try it one more time. Apple.
It's yellow. That Apple.
That was about 4.
See, you're picking the worst times because I heard Apple when I started to say yellow.
Right. Okay. You tell me when it's green again, and then I'll say it. I'll say it as soon as
green now.
Apple.
See, it
That's
drops
That's good.
down to red every time I talk.
It was about 3 seconds that time. That's good enough.
Which is
about our average.
It's good because I'm. But anyways, you could. Because, like, I'm sorry I interrupted. Apparently, the new fucking ritual when we start the fucking show of just being like, hey, let's talk about pedophiles. And
that is true, Matt. We shouldn't be talking about that. We should be talking about.
Look, I'm getting it. I gotta go.
I was just setting you up
online, right? I know.
Like,
look, I'm in charge. I'm the adult right now.
One of your
look, the thing.
One of your young
my internet's really bad right now.
I know. I'm not the one. He's having fun with that.
I'm the adult. I'm in charge.
He is older than us.
Only chronologically.
Not mentally.
Yeah.
I can't. That's so fucking funny. Just imagining Matt taking charge of any situation.
I'm in like a fucking suit, like a big suit that like it's
got a big old empty briefcase.
It's like me as a kid, but I'm like I'm adult size, but I just have a giant fucking suit, so it looks like I'm a kid in an adult suit.
It's just Patrick from when he gets home from work.
Boss! Mom said...
Mom said I get to be in charge
after all the things I've done for you two, like nuking my Discord that I was fucking sick of seeing every fucking day.
Nobody asked you to do that.
He also...
on a lark.
He's fighting with you in the past right now. There's time travel arguing.
You know what? I'm in the green now, so I'm in the present. You fucking prick.
He's got a 1980s style giant block cell phone.
Yeah,
he's
I went
like,
back.
I'm doing some business right now. I'm in charge. Fuck you.
Yeah, I went back to the future from businessman school when I went back. You're a buffoon. Sorry, go
Well,
ahead.
I can't
Captain.
start until fucking Mr. Gigglepuss
Is it?
over there
I
ends.
can't stop. I'm sorry.
Jesus Christ.
I'm sorry.
All right.
Oh, you give me the reins for. We haven't even gotten to the topic, Conan. It's all just falling apart. I hope you're happy.
I got my legs kicked back. I'm having a good time right now.
You know who's not going to get their legs kicked back because they're not getting a break this week because they're still going to be the reading bitch, Lundy.
Yeah. That was a long.
Are you
Hello,
ready?
hello, me from 10
Fuck, now
seconds ago.
Lundy's Discord fucking bullshit's loading.
It's great to hear ourselves like again. Like
Yeah,
it's so much fun.
It's been so long, boys. How you doing?
Fuck me.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Okay. So, Matt, do you want to introduce this topic? Give him 10 seconds.
Give it 30.
Fuck you. I'm gonna give him 10 seconds. I'll give him 30.
I'm pretty sure we're right on the mark too.
Yeah. It just got to him as soon as because I heard myself say 30.
Not goddamn goat. He overshot that shit like a fucking Price is Right retard. Anyways, you shut up. You know, I'm gonna do something 1 second.
I like that. What if I just upload this as the episode?
Yeah, this on its own would be fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's like a nice quick bonus meme.
Matt figures out time travel. Matt goes back in time through resetting his router. It's
Fucking hell.
so fucking funny.
The best part is like listening to him like argue like way after the fact. We hear ourselves say something and then he immediately responds to it after we've already heard it.
Our opinions from 20 seconds ago being refuted.
Yeah.
Technically in real time, I guess.
It's almost like watching a real-time fucking response video.
Well, it's like that, or like you're actually watching how long it takes for the signal to get from wherever the server is to Virginia. Well, yeah, it takes about 10 seconds for that signal to fire off.
You done?
We're never gonna be done, Matt, so you might as well just get going before we do what you do all the time.
Anyways,
Get
fuck
to
it.
work. Yeah.
I'm finally ripping the bandage off. We're doing the many lives of Hulk Hogan. Lundy, start reading them.
He doesn't even fucking try.
Look, you can't.
We're doing the lines of Hulk Hogan. Lundy, read.
He says that's on a limb. Look at it.
Goddamn Lincoln mouth up. You too, fucking Kentuckian. I would be trying, but I can't because I'm fighting against not only the internet, but the cruel barbs of my host.
Matt calling us from the heart of Africa right now.
Oh, damn it. This is this in and of itself is funnier than anything we're going to be going over. I swear to God.
That's so funny. You ain't ready for this shit I'm about to drop on you. Get ready for
it's
this
bad
atomic
internet.
bomb.
Go.
Get away from
This
this
was the
atomic leg
ruse.
drop. Okay. Hulk Hogan lies over the years.
Hulk Hogan reminds me of Florida.
What do you mean by that?
He's from Florida. I got friends from Florida. You ever have Cajun food? That's some wild shit right there. Yeah, that reminds me of the time I was smoking weed and I got my dick sucked and then I went blind for 20 years. How does it feel, bitch?
Oh no.
Okay. I've had my fun. I'll mute myself.
I just love the idea of Matt like fighting against his internet while listening to you, just like his hands in the air, just like waving them around, his giant ham hock fists, just like, God damn it, go!
Oh yeah, no, that table's getting punched right now. There's a carving of.
You would be mistaken, Lundy.
Every time he talks, it's cut off.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Oh,
No, I'd stop right there. Because I knew you fucking idiots would laugh and it would distract me.
It'll distract me from my mission.
Yeah, like I'm finding your temporal ghost right now.
I'm in the frozen time. I am wailing right now.
Our echoes are making their way back to him. And he's trying to
there's not really
much them while talk to us in the present
you,
time.
Lundy, but next actual episode, I could go back really good.
Oh, I'm ready for it. Yeah, I'll take my pendants for this. That's fine.
Let's hope your internet actually works by then.
He just says like, "Oh yeah, well, how about?"
I had a feeling this might happen because my internet was doing really good for most of the day, and I was like, "Oh, it's probably gonna fuck up when we record the podcast." And yeah, it's fucking up as we record the podcast. That's like the most annoying thing. It's not even like, oh, every day, like oh, at 5 p.m. or whatever, the internet fucks up. It's like moving. It's like a fucking shifted timeline of fucking bullshit internet.
Lundy, we talked about originally when we came up with it. Should we get Thorium?
Oh fuck yeah, he actually would be good for this.
Yeah, he is a wrestling guy.
Message him.
Because I was gonna be the wrestling guy, but well, right now it's actually staying. Well, no, never mind. I jinxed it. It's fucking red again. Now it's great. I'm just chasing the fucking dragon.
Do she sell seashells, Matt? Do that while you're waiting for it to fix. I want to hear that.
No.
Fuck
you already
bitch.
got me to read Finnegan's Wake that one fucking time.
You're doing it again at some point because we didn't get fucking. I didn't save the file.
I know. I'm doing it again, and I am dreading it.
What was it? You're gonna do like you're gonna get high before you do it or some shit? I can't remember what you said you were gonna.
I don't remember. Probably something mushrooms.
That's fine. Don't do crack before you.
You know what? I think it was actually crack.
Don't fucking do crack before you read.
Look, crack's safe. You can't put fent in crack, at least to my knowledge.
Yeah, you can't overdose.
We all know that crack is safe. We all know that it's probably the safest drug.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Matt has officially, he's been in the server so long, he's actually become Destiny.
he has endorsed that an 8-year-old can probably do crack and be fine.
Dog, dude.
No,
dude,
fuck
dude.
that.
All I'm
Children
saying
don't
is that
deserve drugs. They have happiness and blissful ignorance
it's not
of
it's
youth.
not out it's not out of their
Adults need
safety
drugs.
concerns. What?
In fact, if you're a child and you're caught using drugs, you should be executed.
What a maroon. Where you at, Thorium, bitch?
Okay, so we got Thorium in the room. He is our local autistic expert on all things wrestling. Mostly
Yeah.
because he listens to the Jim Cornette podcast every day.
He's a big fan of
Also,
shirtless men
He
touching each other.
didn't do massive amounts of brain damage to his brain with drugs
Or his
like I did. So he remembers
Well,
a lot more of the wrestling shit
I didn't
than
do massive brain damage with drugs, but I did watch wrestling, so
That does
You
count.
got like a
That is
different
true.
kind
it doesn't
I don't
help.
know
brain
about
damage.
It doesn't help.
I think you have to be retarded before you start watching wrestling so you can get into it, you know?
Yeah, true.
It's kind of like therapy in a
You do
way.
That's
have
why
to have a
everyone gets
willingness.
into it when they're kids, before
That's
their brain
why-
has any level of development.
That's
You get
why
into
the
it as a
fan-
kid, and then you can suspend that disbelief as an adult. You can go back to that childish state where this dumb shit makes sense.
The main
It's okay. The
reason-
many lies of Hulk Hogan, and there are many. There's
There are.
I've got a list here.
there's
We're
probably
going
more
through
I
them.
don't know about. There's so goddamn many.
I've got a long ass list here. We're
Okay,
gonna be
yeah,
going
We
He
through
already
actually has
covered.
worse.
We already covered the wrestler. And
So
Aronofsky.
Interestingly concerning that, Thorium has a friend who did the stunt work for the wrestler, so he's got some level of connection to this particular lie.
Yeah,
Where-
I'm strangely informed on this this little bit of wrestling lore.
Where apparently Hulk Hogan claimed that Aronofsky offered him the lead role several times and he turned it down because he didn't think he deserved it.
Yeah, because he's very well known for his incredible humility and turning down projects,
Yeah.
and not the opposite of that, where he seeks out shit where he doesn't belong. Like the WrestleMania with Bret Hart and Yokozuna. How about I just win? How about I just show up and win?
It's weird.
And I look ridiculous.
Because he doesn't have to do this. He's Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan
He was
demanded.
literally one of the
Yeah.
biggest wrestlers in the 80s.
Yeah, he never left his carny brain behind, even when it was entirely unnecessary. But that's his whole life. He lives his whole life that way, just being an annoying blowhard. Why stop now? It's gotten me this far. There's no need to switch gears.
And we'll see.
That might have
There's
been
some really fucking carny ass bull. Like this one, this is like on the Hogan scale of lies. This is like a 2. It's kind of funny
said-
because Darren Aronofsky, Hogan has told
No.
this lie so many times. Darren Aronofsky has had to come out and been like, "No, it's
You were never
no,
considered. We wanted
never
to, of
gave
course,
the Hulk
because
Hogan.
you're a
not
fucking
stupid.
god awful actor that we all saw in the worst movies with the worst acting. You're such shit. I've started OSW review did a little is going through some WCW material, and they showed early Hulk Hogan there, where he was still trying to be the good guy from WWF, his WWF days, the red and yellow, and everyone is tired of him, and everyone is sick of it, but they just don't know. He doesn't know how to do
And
anything
he's
else
fighting the
before he
fucking
got the
Monster
NWO.
Mash.
Well, not even that Monster Mash, but he's on that stupid ass show Thunder in Paradise, and that I knew that sucked so hard. I had no interest in watching at the time. I took one look at the advertisement, like, haha, no.
Have
But
you
it
ever
turns out
seen
it's
the,
actually he cannot act worth a shit. He does promos just as acting and badly. It's like if it's just do a promo, Hogan, only quieter, and that's
You
your
ever
acting.
see the scene
It's-
Thorium from that show where it's not even something from the show, it's just something they caught in the background. Like as Hogan's driving, there's like a kid with a dog, and he just throws a dog into a river in the background.
No, didn't know that bit of lore.
Yeah, it's weird.
So they just happened to catch someone being a criminal in the
Yeah,
background of
just
Thunder in
animal
Paradise?
abuse. I mean, to be fair, the
Just-
kid might have been playing with the dog because I think it's been a while since I've seen that clip. I think the kid was like in swimming trunks, so He might have just been like, "Oh, hey, I'm swimming. The dog might want to swim too." And the dog was like, "Look, I'm a dog. I can't tell you I don't want to swim, but I really don't want to fucking swim here."
I'm not going to put that on Hogan, but no, didn't know that one. I'm waiting for, if you have a list, there's a couple on that list that I'm absolutely waiting for that are goddamn hilarious. But
waiting for it because Lundy's.
I mean,
Lundy and
I'm going to text. I'm going to send
a
it to you privately. I'm going to send it to you privately. What is my favorite bullshit Hogan bit of bullshit? Oh, by the way, can I guess where on the list is that? Did you rate them? Did you sort of rack and stack them?
Oh no, it's not ranked. It's not ranked.
No,
it's a big old tweet thread that's just like filled
got it.
All of these.
I thought you might have put them in some like ascending order, and I was curious how close I got to the top.
No, this is my topic. I'm too lazy to do that.
This is Matt's baby, so just like if he was an actual.
Meanwhile, he'll make a fucking list of all the acceptable Yakubians throughout all of time.
Yeah.
His laziness is on and off.
Look, Lundy, it's laziness versus autism.
Yeah.
They're two different beasts.
Inside me are two wolves. Laziness and autism. And they're both gay.
Next slide. Hulk Hogan claimed that he was an all-state pitcher in high school and that he was scouted by both the New York Yankees and the Cincinnati Reds, but an injury prevented him from signing with either team.
Yeah,
That's just a lie that every uncle tells.
Yeah, I mean, it's just again, these are the basic lies that a pro wrestler, will tell of like, man, and it all says something about what they think of pro wrestling. They understand that pro wrestling is not respected, and they do a thing where
this lie, because of his mention of the Cincinnati Reds, right? Do you know which wrestler who was an all-star in
Macho
high
Man
school in baseball who
was Macho Man?
Was
Macho Man
scouted
had
for
a baseball background.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So he's literally just still in the Macho Man story.
Yeah, Macho Man was in the minors. I don't believe
he's as well.
Full heads up,
and them
Thorium,
too.
he's on a delay, so he's probably got to talk over you.
He hears everything that you say like 10 seconds after you say it. So you
I
just want to say whatever the fuck.
Just want to give you a full heads up on that.
Okay, yeah. I just figured, well, you'll finish, and then I'll finish.
He'll power himself down eventually.
So, yeah, essentially, I was going to say he knows Hogan. Here's the part about that lie that's smart. He knows that pro wrestler isn't enough because pro wrestler is not respected. And so you come out and say, well, I could have been this and I could have been that. If not for the arrow I took to the knee, I would have been a pitcher or a football star or something else. And so they all have the Skyrim guard backstory, about something else.
But meanwhile, sense with Hogan at least, because
and
you look at how
things there are actually a number of people.
He was literally just a beach bum that was he had a good physique, and they were like, oh, we could probably do something with this.
Well, the first thing they did was kick his ass and throw him out. That's the first thing they did with him. I forget exactly what Jimmy went into. But he'll talk about how he was the toughest dude. But because that was par for the course for a lot of promotions, which is just to kick your ass. I want to be a wrestler, okay, and they'll just whip your ass for the express purpose of you going out and telling your friends that these guys are a bunch of badasses, stay away from their dangerous people, and then they'll just use you that way. There, for example, there was a recent Dark Side of the Ring on the I forget exactly who, but the patriarch of the Florida promotion, the big Florida promotion,
the Graham family.
At the time, the Graham family, and essentially that was a very big thing. And there is footage of Bob Roop, former U.S. Olympian, just smacking the hell out of and traumatizing and beating up just some dude who thought he said, hey, I could be a wrestler. He was wrestling trunks and everything. He's old and he looks terrible, granted, and he's not going to end. He's got a long way to go. He's got a real uphill climb, and they're just doing decide we're going to beat this guy up. We're just going to beat the hell out of him, and it's sad to watch because you're just being an asshole. And they all did that, and you can imagine Hogan looking like a fucking idiot with his.
That's how they had to.
I'm in a band. Hey, I'm in a band. I'm going to try out wrestling. I'm a beach bum who's in a band. And I try out wrestling. This is going to be good. You know they kicked his ass. They see him coming a mile away. They're going to whip his ass.
But yeah, kind of. I mean, I don't know if they had to do this, but like, they felt they needed to do that because of fucking bullshit kayfabe and shit, where it's like,
Yeah,
we don't want
it's
any
stupid.
stooges coming in here and immediately learning, like, yeah, this
Yeah, they don't
is
want to give
all
up their tricks.
bullshit.
Yeah, they don't want to give up their tricks, and it was their way of doing that. And maybe to an extent that worked, and maybe it didn't. But people get in on different. That's just a thing they wanted to do.
There's probably a better way to figure that out.
I see a. Okay, that's how. Okay. There was
Goat's just sitting back and having a good time.
Okay, so
I'm
that
having
was so that was the so yeah, that's actually a fairly tame lie, a resume bolstering lie that someone could have bought into. I rate that fairly low on what I'm sure we're gonna get to.
Well, here's the next one. Hogan claims that he's the first one who noticed Kevin Owens' potential, saying, quote, "Well, I hate to brag about it, but I'm the first to point a finger at Kevin Owens." This was said after a decade of Kevin Owens already working in the indie circuits.
That
Yeah, and
one's
Kevin Owens having a great
a
reputation.
weird one to me.
Why
Okay,
is that
that's just
particularly
again,
weird?
well, I mean, his timeline is very bad. It's possible that he comes from a parallel dimension where time is not linear, and there's no clocks because there's no
There's
point.
a few lies here concerning timelines, actually.
Yeah,
It's the
so I think
same
that's a
timeline
occurring
my
thing.
internet comes from.
If he slipped in from another timeline where time is not linear, everything happens all at once, and it's all a matter of relativity and perception. And clocks don't exist. Like then
Hulk Hogan
that can
knew
make sense.
the Holocaust was going to happen and did nothing.
Well, like the reason it's weird to me, Thorium, is like I could get Hogan picking some like dude who was just in Ring of Honor or the Indies because he's like, yeah, nobody fucking pays attention to that shit. But like, out of all the motherfuckers he could have picked, Kevin Owens is like a weird one because he's nothing like
Well, the
Hogan.
funny thing is,
I don't think he's
yeah,
ever
and
said
yeah,
a
and
nice thing about Hogan.
Hogan, in a way, reminds me, like the various lies he tells. It kind of reminds me of Gene Simmons' son when he decided to steal some anime and plagiarize it, and just republish it over here because there's so much Japanese anime. They can just steal it and republish it in English speaking, and no one would catch it. But unfortunately, he chose to plagiarize the comic that would be Bleach, and which was a rare hit over here. And then everyone was very much exposed. It was very obvious that he was just doing a plagiarism. Well, Hogan just does that repeatedly. He just makes that mistake repeatedly. Like he'll think he's trying to pluck something out of obscurity to sound like he had deep lore on something and not realize that this person was already popular, already famous, already doing the thing, already not doing the thing, whatever.
We mentioned before Hulk Hogan's various bits of acting that he's done. But we have not mentioned how amazing of a writer he is in terms of screenplays as well. Because Hogan, who starred in Mr. Nanny and Santa with Muscles, claims that he rewrote both scripts entirely, only to have his writing credits stolen from him by the Dastardly Writers Guild.
Okay, well, that lore makes a little bit of sense to tell because he was a famous union buster. Essentially, Jesse Ventura, the story goes, is Jesse Ventura was actually trying to use WrestleMania 2 to organize around because WrestleMania 2 was a rather strange thing. Vince tried to top WrestleMania 1 by simulcasting a bunch of things, and then immediately Jesse said, "Look, if there's a time, it's right now. If you want to threaten a walkout, there's like a 3-in-1 event he's going to do that he's going to look really silly on a live broadcast for. So if there's a time for it," and then Hulk immediately gets on the phone and rats everyone out. So he does hate unions. In fact, it was pretty funny because his daughter was happened to bring up the necessity for a wrestlers union to some wrestling podcast guy, and apparently she didn't know that story because she's like, I really think wrestlers should need a union, and then the podcast goes, yeah, I think so too. I wonder why we don't have one. Have any idea why we don't have one? just fucking with her right to her face because she didn't know.
And the sad thing is, Jesse learned this.
But it was right there. It was teed up for the guy so well. He couldn't take it. Take
literally
You've
every
heard her
time
music.
since Jesse. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, that delay was so long that I actually did stop.
Brooke Hogan's music is bad, and
Well, yeah, her music sucks, but like, come
she
on.
deserves to be assaulted.
All right.
Remember,
But I mean, it was just
I've-
like I said, it was right there. She teed that up for that guy so well, and he knew the deep lore. Oh god, that
I've
echo is
talked
fucking
about this.
brutal. Wow,
This
it really
one-
is.
Before I know that we
Oh,
thank,
let me.
I want to thank Thorium and Thorium 2 for this one. I really appreciate
Yeah, we like to thank Thorium and Thorium from 10 seconds ago.
We'd like to thank
For-
Big Lundy 2. We'd like to thank Goat 2. We'd like to thank Thorium, or not Thorium.
Okay,
Focus.
well, I'd like to thank my past self very much for that
Focus
insight.
actually, you couldn't tell because Focus isn't talking, but his self has been chiming in about 50
Yeah.
fucking times so far.
Yeah, honestly, he can't shut the fuck up.
Yeah. When he got into that race realism thing, I was a little bit iffy about it, but you know what? He stands by his convictions, and I respect him for it.
Focus is over there like, I just pop in here to just listen to you guys while I play video games. Fuck off.
He's over there like, damn, I'm Canadian.
Okay, next lie. What we got? What do we got?
Next lie. Hogan says that he used to fight Pride fighters in the 70s, even though Pride Fighting Championships was only founded in 1997.
Well, we might have found the fighters. You know, they would have been like 7 and 9 at that.
I mean,
children.
Yeah.
They had some geezers in Pride.
It had to be at least 20 years past the prime then, in order for that to matter.
I mean, Lundy, you should know this. Like, you've been watching Napoleon Blown Apart's video.
Yeah.
Just like I have. Like, Pride was a bit of a freak show.
It was freak show fighting for sure.
The thing is, even at that time, Hogan was working in Japan, and even before he was in the WWF, I think he was the AWA, whatever the other promotion he was in, and he was considering, you know, he was still doing a schedule in Japan even then, so Vince had to be fairly competitive in order to get exclusivity to him because he could do his AWA stuff and take dates in Japan, so he was doing quite well. So he didn't need to fight a proto Pride, you know, wrestler. He was actually working in the territory and doing well for himself. So a very silly lie. He's actually downgrading himself.
Also,
with that,
keep
because
this lie.
With that one.
Keep this lie in mind for later, because something else in terms.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I know one's coming. I know what's coming.
Up, which
I thought there's another one coming for his trips to Japan.
Oh
and
yeah,
how again the passage of time.
That's one of my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Now we all do have our favorite Hulk Hogan lies. This next one of Thorium's favorites. It's a two-parter. Number one, the Hulkster claimed to be the first to have slammed Andre the Giant, and that Andre weighed 600 pounds when Hogan body slammed him. And the lie, on top of that,
or every muscle in his back.
He tore 18 muscles in his back slamming Andre. On top of that, he claims that Andre died merely a few days after the slam, as if the slam is what killed him.
Andre lived another 10 years.
Yeah.
Including many years on WWF television. So it's not like he went away and like, oh, I'm retired. I'm going back to Ellerby, North Carolina onto my farm.
To be fair,
I will never be seen again.
He was kind of past his prime by that particular point. That particular run with Hogan, he was like, man, I'm starting.
That was meant to be his sunset. Yeah, that was his sunset as his big thing. That was
going back
because it wasn't meant to be fake his death. Did Hogan think he was going to fake his death as part of the gimmick?
I don't know.
And even if he did he not realize that he didn't go through with it? If that's what I mean, that sounds like if Andre did that, that's the best rib ever. If he said, you know what, hey,
also,
you know what, I'm going to put you over like crazy.
I'm
going to put you. Hold on, Jesus Christ. I'm going to put you. I'm setting up a story here. Like, okay, Hogan, I'm you're going to go over like crazy. You're actually going to kill me in the ring. I'm ready to retire, And I don't care if I'm ever in the public spotlight again. I live in a little town called Ellerby, North Carolina. I bought a ranch out there. I'm going to spend all my time out there. So what I'm going to do is you pay me, you give me half of your pay for this WrestleMania, and you can kill me in the ring. Like I'll just disappear, and you'll never see me again. And then Hogan does it, and then Andre just presses on. Like I don't know, like
And then,
that would be awesome.
Hogan's just under the impression that he legitimately killed Andre.
Yeah, he just
So yeah, I want to point out two things, right? So one, Andre was slammed many times by many people before this. Like
Mhm.
Jim Cornette.
It was
in his
always a
fucking
big thing.
podcast episode where they talk about the lies gets into this. We're like,
It was always a big.
it was because Andre was a big motherfucker. So you see
reacting
somebody
to
picking him up, it's
past
like, oh
Lundy.
shit, that's impressive. But like,
Yeah, in
Jim
fact,
put it
it
beautifully.
resulted in a fight.
If Andre liked you, he would fucking let you slam him.
This is unbearable.
Past Thorium now cutting in and interrupting you like an asshole. That past Thorium is a piece of shit. He's fucking up your rhythm. But no, one of the better stories about people slamming Andre is Kamala did it in the territory. And yes, it took permission, but Kamala's like big and fucking strong, and he surprised Andre with how easily he did it. Normally, Andre would kind of just sort of, he knew how to put one hand on the shoulder, one hand on the hip, and just sort of like almost turn his body into it. And while he still did that with Kamala just snatched him like whoop, right up and then bang. It was like one of the better ones. And Andre was legitimately surprised and a little pissed. And they ended up almost coming to blows over it, where Andre was threatening him and just being shitty. And then Kamala essentially at one point is like, I'm not going to fight Andre for two reasons. Number one, there's a good chance I'm going to lose. And number two, he's a big guy in this territory. It's the end of my career. And literally brought a gun to the red dressing room and threatened him at gunpoint to say, like, you ever fuck with me again, you're going to get it. And Andre would be like, just looked at the gun, looked at him and said, I'm sorry, boss. Sometimes, it points to his head, I don't think. So Kamala went gangster on Andre over that, but then they got along. So again, that's the wacky world of wrestling. The more horrible you are to each other, or the better of a bond you create sometimes.
And then the second thing with like this lie, which makes it bizarre, is like in that last feud with Hogan and Andre, at the end of it,
it's not even the
Andre
first time they
turned
wrestled.
face again.
That's the funny part.
Because he attacked Bobby Heenan. Yeah, and yeah, that was the other thing. It's not even the first time they fucking wrestled.
It's not the first time they wrestled in WWF.
Hogan
they
fucking
wrestled in WWF before.
Him in the first fucking match. Yeah, so it's just like,
did, but probably
again, like we're starting to get into some weird ones.
Well, here's the thing: if he wants to sell in the run up to WrestleMania 3, they did sell the thing of he's never been slammed. And that's what they did, a whole angle, like almost a year-long angle with Big John Studd trying and failing to slam Andre and having like a money challenge over it. And it was like really built up for a year. So Hogan was saying this in that era, because it's part of the, that's part of the kayfabe, it's part of a long-term story. But to keep banging on about it years later on news podcasts after he's, where Andre is clearly alive and clearly working and clearly in other WrestleManias and clearly on my television, he's dead.
Also, there's the other thing. I'm sorry, Lundy. But there's the other thing, too, with it. It is like, like, you could get away with WWE being like, oh, Andre's never been slammed, because...
And it worked in the 80s. If you're a kid in the 80s and you've never seen other television...
ever got slammed. Yeah, like, it's the territory days. Like, you
tell him, past Thorium.
Like, one regional fucking
wrestling
pro.
I thought he was agreeing
so
with
it's
his
like
echo.
He did. He actually did.
I thought he heard his own echo.
Good.
Like, yeah, you know what?
Funny.
Yeah, make a good point, me.
Motherfucker, I'm always in agreement with myself. because I'm my only true
I'm well
friend.
aware. I'm well aware. Thought this was a good idea.
I said my thing, and then he started talking, and then I heard him
and
actually
then you
hear
heard
me.
yourself say it again, and then he agrees with that.
And then when he
You
agrees
still-
with that, and I'm like, yeah, that's right. You tell him.
You're still in the semi-nice phase before you eventually get to the point of just doing what I do and just say, shut the fuck up every time that happens.
We all know that Hulk Hogan was a hell of a party boy back in the 70s and 80s. Now, John Belushi sadly died in 1982, but according to the Hulkster, he partied with him after WrestleMania 2 in 1986.
Okay, again, the alternate dimension. You know.
Yeah. Alternate timeline, you know, all things happen at once.
Mm-hmm.
Who's a really
He is quantum. He is quantum Hogan.
who's a real schlobby fucking wrestler back then? Maybe he just got confused and was like, "Oh, this is John Belushi."
And I don't even see him as being a big drug user. I think he was. I mean, obviously he's a roid monkey, but I mean, he seems like a real bore as a person. I don't think he's partying.
Thorium, Hogan was he was big into it. I know at least with weed because Ultimate Warrior in his YouTube videos when he was still fucking a crazy homophobe and he would do anti-Hogan videos. He talked about how Hogan would always say a day without weed is like a day without sunshine.
I mean, he could be a weed head, but I don't even count that. I mean, in terms of like doing the coke and the real party drugs and
we're talking the
bars.
70s and the 80s. There's like weed is the least like who gives a fuck.
I mean, look,
But I don't think that
was
Hogan was into any of the other stuff. I guess in a way that's the one redeeming quality is that he didn't fall down the drug staircase like so many others. I mean, the one drug he did take, he seems to be genetically predisposed for. It's like Adam Smasher with enhancements. You can just keep loading him up, and he doesn't die. You know, all these other wrestlers just fucking grab their chest and fall over, and he just doesn't.
I zoned out for a second, and I was legitimately like, is Matt criticizing someone for smoking weed?
Yes.
He's done that a bajillion times before, Goat. That's not surprising.
How is he such a square? He's still such a square.
Yeah, you are a square, man. Fuck you.
No, not Matt Hogan.
I do not live in a glass house at this point. I live
but I agree with that.
inside of a shattered ring of glass.
You live
I remember
fucking
10 years
support
ago. I remember 10 years ago
of the
Matt
rocks
making a
I've
fucking
thrown.
video talking about how much he hates other people who smoke pot. Like,
Yeah, they're
this is not
annoying.
new.
Well, that's also good strategy because, talk people out of pots, so more pot for him.
Yeah.
Exactly, that too. I don't want to share my fucking weed with people. Like that's why
You drive down.
Which is one of the main
Cost.
reasons he doesn't want me and Goat to visit
I was
because he
more
thinks that he's gonna have to
confused.
share.
I was more confused because this is right after something to do with like a dog getting abused.
like you remember how much of a fucking hassle it was. Just shut up, Goat. I'm trying to explain to Lundy like the whole fucking coming down here situation. Like you remember how much of a fucking hassle when fucking Sia fucking came down. I just know it's gonna be the same fucking thing. So that's the main reason I keep fighting you two on it. Because it's like
You gotta
I
make
don't
game
have to
system
fucking
out
have
of that. You can't
that
even
conversation
bitch.
with my aunt. Because it was so fucking annoying last time. I mean, you know what's fucked up about that? My sister stole my fucking Switch. It's not even here anymore. It's down in fucking Richmond. Because she found out I had fucking Animal Crossing and I made the mistake. Look, I want to get it back, but every time she comes up, I keep fucking forgetting to ask her because it's like, I made the dumb decision to be like, oh yeah, I got Animal Crossing. And she's like, oh, I want to play Animal Crossing. And just never gave it back. But like, look,
well,
I
the
promise
can cross back over to my
I will
place.
get the fucking Switch back. Because I want to play the new dumb Pokemon game. Yeah, that too. I wanted
Fair enough.
to delete that Animal Crossing town like I did my fucking Discord server. I didn't have the strength to do it then, but I have the strength to do it now. That was the other reason one day I let her borrow it, because I had stopped playing Animal Crossing for a month, and I couldn't even look at my Switch out of guilt, because I felt bad for all of the little fucking animal people who I abandoned. It's like I failed them.
You're gay. You're very gay.
Okay, next on
Our
the
next
list.
lie. This is one that this is one of my favorites because of how fucked up it is. Hogan, after wrestling The Undertaker, had told The Undertaker that after getting tombstoned on top of a steel chair, that Undertaker had caused permanent damage to his neck by botching the tombstone spot. Undertaker believed him for the better part of 2 years, having stressed about it, having complained about it, having felt really bad about it, before finally seeing the tape of the match, which clearly showed that Hogan's head never came anywhere near the chair and that he did not actually get hit with anything at all.
Yeah, Undertaker shared that with somebody in the at one point. He's like, "Yeah, a while ago." It's like, "I've seen that tape." No, you didn't. And he's like, "Really?" And then he's like, "Yeah, I'll pull it for you." And the thing is, it's actually a modified version of the tombstone that's even safer than most. Most of the times, it's kind of like he actually has Hogan's legs over his shoulder. So it's like it's actually braced by his shoulder in addition to just kind of being held around the waist, too. So he's like, it's like double safe. And yeah, no, but that one I remember hearing on a roundabout from, or a roundup of similar lists from Jim Cornette, and Cornette said, "Oh, that's the oldest trick in the wrestling book. When you have a rookie come in, and then the veteran would just go, 'Oh yeah, you kind of hurt me out there. When you did that arm drag, or you did this, I got a little stinger, but don't worry, it's fine. I'll be the bigger man about it.' And that way they feel like they owe you." Because they aren't, it's actually it's a tricky thing to learn as to whether or not you hurt another person. You can, a rookie can be lied to about that and not know the difference. Other veterans, you do it to a veteran, they're like, "Yeah, no way, you're like, yeah, no way, your head cleared. I made sure I saw it. I know how to do that move. You're lying. Fuck you."
Like they wouldn't just be like Hogan, where it's like, "Oh, you almost crippled me, brother. I can't feel my fingers, brother, because you fucked up the pile driver, brother, but I'll let it slide because I'm a good Christian."
And that's really such a scummy thing to do. It's such a scummy thing to do.
Because like usually in the
fucking with the
territory. Yeah, in the old territory days, it would be something like, "You potatoed me out there, kid, but don't worry about it. You can give me a burger or something, or pay for my dinner."
But in this case, he just caused Undertaker like insane levels of stress.
Well, the thing is, he correctly saw the Undertaker was a great gimmick, and that was going somewhere, which is why he wanted that win. Like he's beating him. He got his win back on Tuesday Night Titans. Like it was like some weird pay-per-view they aired it Tuesday night in Texas. That's it. Where it was just some weird little pay-per-view that they did in a very off kilter way and never did again. But immediately, just beats the Undertaker, pops off the tombstone, his usual routine. But the good thing is, very few people actually saw that Tuesday night in Texas, and nobody cared. And the Undertaker's mystique was largely protected because of that. But he wanted to nip that shit right in the bud. He wanted to just get his feet off of that and then dispose of it.
They kind of technically did do Tuesday night in Texas again with Cyber Tuesday. If you remember that failed fucking pay-per-view.
No, but
when WWE was,
but the fun,
like, "Oh, you don't remember that?"
I remember.
Sorry, that was
so funny.
There
was
was
such a long delay.
It's
like I just
it's unmanageable. It's insane.
Well,
oh, you don't remember that? Oh no, I remember.
There was a delay, but there's also a beat that also distracted me. But yeah, Cyber Tuesday was fun because that was when WWE, back in like 2002. Fuck you! I'm gonna keep telling. I'm gonna tell the story of Cyber Tuesday. People need to remember this. This is not a story.
You figure out why I'm doing it now?
The McMahons would tell you. So, Cyber Tuesday was a fucking idea WWE had in 2002 where they were going to stream pay-per-views on their dumb, shitty fucking website, and they did it with Cyber Tuesday, and it failed fucking hard because they kind of knew it was going to fail, so they didn't have a really good card or anything, and you know, because it was shut up.
It's like a Doctor Who episode.
Bro, it's
Your
like
time is placed.
It's such a fucking huge delay. He can't.
I start talking, and then he starts talking. I stop, and then I realize that he
the
thinks
thing
that's
is, like,
silence, and then I'll start what I had just.
You'll speak for like 20 seconds, and
Well,
then
that's why
after you get done, we'll just hear the whole fucking thing again.
You were agreeing with it. It was like, oh no, I remember. And then he's just like, you remember that time? Yeah, I remember. Oh, he left in frustration. All right. With that, take my final sip of lemonade. God bless America.
Lemonade, the best.
Let's
Next slide. The Hulk Rules, or rather Hulk Rules, is an album that was released by Hulk Hogan and the Wrestling Boot Band. One of the most famous tracks from the album is a tribute song, Hulkster in Heaven.
Oh, good, I got back for this. I just hung up and joined again because I was like, you know what? I never tried that. I didn't try do that.
Pumpkin.
Pumpkin. You're saying it constantly. Why are you saying it? It's the Apple game, Goat. You're confusing me.
According to Hogan in this song, he met a very ill Make-A-Wish kid in England and got him a ticket to SummerSlam at Wembley Stadium to watch him wrestle in the main event. Hogan was neither at SummerSlam nor in the UK during this time period.
He did write that track, though. That was a pretty boss track. What was your favorite?
I mean, that's a pretty bog standard lie
is.
that, you know, is a
Goat,
small ball that goes
be
way down the list. I mean, it's
the
scummy,
intro
but
and outro.
But what a great guy I am. I helped out a sick kid, and I didn't. You know, I mean, that's a warm up. He'll tell that lie before breakfast. We're getting to other stuff on that list. What else we got?
You know what a good also track from that album is I Want to Be a Hulkamaniac, because I swear to God, the fucking background singers on that are either lobotomy patients or just zoned out on fucking Quaaludes.
Here's the funny thing. I'm old enough to have been a kid during the ascension of Hulk Hogan in WWF. I would have been 8 years old. And during all the heyday of that whole business. Not a single per kid that I knew, we all talked wrestling, liked Hogan. That was the funny part. It's like, it looked like mass hypnosis on TV. Like, he's so popular, but meanwhile, we all hated him. Like, we all thought he sucked. We all thought he was boring and stupid and corny. Like this weird hot dog of a man.
Just me, Thorium. So, like, around my neighborhood.
Do you remember? Did your peers like Hogan? Did you know any?
No, because I was gonna say that. Like, so I was a Macho Man kid, because Macho Man was just the fucking coolest human being.
Yeah, when I remember.
As a kid.
Yeah, when I went to the video store one day, I went to the video store and there was I went to a video store one day and saw a poster for WrestleMania 4, which is now on VHS and available to rent. And on that, it said, "Here's a title thing for crowning a new champion." And I immediately thought, "There's a new champion who's not fucking Hogan. Who's awesome." Rented it, got me back into wrestling again. Years later, because I was beyond bored of him. He's, Macho Man's time was the reason I had a second resurgence of paying attention to wrestling again. And Hogan winning the title for Macho ended that.
And there was also the Ultimate Warrior fans around me as well. I never much cared for Ultimate Warrior, but like
that was me. I was on the ground floor eating chicken while I'm talking.
At least when I grew up, Thorium, it felt like the kids who were like a grade or two older than me were like the people who liked Hulk Hogan, whereas like people like my age or younger were like either Macho Man fans or Ultimate Warrior fans.
I remember seeing
And then
Ultimate
you have,
Warrior's
like, the
debut on
one
like
weird
the Saturday Morning
who's,
Wrestling
like,
Challenge.
a Piper fan.
Remember seeing him on like literally the Saturday Morning Wrestling Challenge, like his debut or thereabouts, and thinking, "Oh, this guy's great." And I remember thinking he's like a better version of Hogan that I don't fucking hate. This is actually pretty good. He has kind of that same energy, but isn't like the most annoying nerd like Hogan is.
Yeah,
Like this is the right
Hogan
thing. I
always
bet
just
he's the next
came
champion.
off as a dork.
Hulk Hogan claimed that he was asked to join a startup company known as the UFC. And while UFC wasn't nearly as popular as it is today, Hogan said that he wouldn't have joined because, quote, guys get beat up when the fight should be stopped.
Weird
I
argument to make, mister. I fought pride fighters in the 70s.
Another athletic tall tale of I could have done that thing, but womp womp, I'm doing wrestling instead.
This isn't even the dumbest fucking. I almost was part of something that became big. We'll get to that one. That might actually be.
Yeah,
my
he's really just
favorite line,
making himself
thinking
out to be like a
about it
Forrest
more.
Gump of life, isn't he?
And again, he doesn't have to fucking do it. Like he's Hulk Hogan. If he, all he had to fucking do to keep his fucking legacy intact was don't constantly lie and never say the N-word. And he fucked up both of them.
That doesn't work for me, brother.
Whilst Hulk Hogan was in the WCW, Hogan said that a pay-per-view bout between himself and Mike Tyson was supposed to commence. Hogan's excuse as to why it didn't happen? Tyson was too scared, brother.
Okay, and not a human being in the world bought that lie for a
See,
second.
I'm torn
Like
on
literally,
that
not a single
one.
one at all.
Uh,
He beats
actually,
people up.
no.
He beats
Yeah,
people up on
We're
planes
talking about
for no
Tyson
reason.
here. Maybe never mind.
Tyson beats up civilians on planes just because they piss him off. That is not in front of God in the world where everyone has a cell phone. And then when it happens, he goes on Twitter and says, "Well, you know, a lot of people think that they just can't catch an ass whipping for being an asshole. I'm going to prove you wrong."
Do you
No, he
remember
doesn't care.
Thorium?
He does not care about legal consequences.
Do you remember when they did the Tyson angle in WWE? Right?
Mhm. And
there's that
he lost to
moment
Buster Douglas. Yeah,
Well, I'm talking
he
about
lost
the
to Buster Douglas, and they brought him.
angle.
Oh, I'm talking about before that. Before that, he was meant to come in and do something for them, but he lost to Buster Douglas right before that. And then WWF got Buster Douglas to do the thing, like as he was as the special guest referee or whatever. kind of
But when they
an
actually-
amazing little story there.
But when they actually did, but when they actually did finally bring in Tyson, and like they had his whole angle with like Degeneration X versus Stone Cold, and there's that moment where Tyson turns and knocks out fucking Michaels, and he puts the Degeneration X shirt over his face. This just reminds me of this because Shawn Michaels talked about that once, and he talked about that was legitimately one of the scariest fucking moments for him in a wrestling ring because Tyson was not supposed to fucking put the shirt over his face. So he's like, "Oh fuck, Tyson's going off script."
I don't
No,
mind
that-
being
that
afraid
was
of Tyson.
what-
'Cause a lot of the things
was
they
the
tell
end of it.
wrestlers. I mean, a lot of the things that what pro wrestlers will do is like if they have a guest star where somebody has to do a hit on them, and then the guy sometimes would be courteous and say, "Okay, how do I punch you without hurting you?" And they know that it takes practice to throw a working punch, so like just hit me. That's what they say. And then of course, if you're getting the assignment to pull Mike Tyson, that's probably what the agent and Vince told Tyson: just hit him, because you know if you don't want to try to do a fake punch and have it look stupid. So just punch him. It's just one time. It's not like a regular thing.
Well, the punch wasn't even the thing.
But unfortunately, it's Tyson.
The punch was because like Michaels knew about the punch. He knew it was coming, and he was like, "Okay, Tyson's like, he's not gonna actually fucking hit me hard enough to like knock me out or anything." It was that moment when like he pushed the shirt over his face, and he's
What
like,
did Tyson
"Oh,
think he was gonna do? Like,
no,
red-
fucking Tyson's
and then after he
going
put
off
the shirt on my
script
face, I
was,
felt
"You're
him
gonna
like
fucking
undoing my
could
pants.
do anything."
Like, what was gonna happen?
I mean, that is a good
Well, it's just
point.
the notion of like
Like, because it is like,
I can I can kind of understand it in the sense of just like he improv'd a little bit. Who knows how much else he'll improv, and I can't really do anything about it because I'm supposed to be knocked out and I can't see what's going on.
also this was post
so I can
Evander Holyfield losing his fucking part of his ear. So Tyson at this stage was very unpredictable.
Yeah, you never know if he's gonna bite somebody.
Or if he just starts, is like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna take the fucking shoes the fucking Shawn Michaels ribs. Fuck him.
I'm
Now,
just
here's a-
the worst thing that Mike Tyson's ever done.
Yeah.
what's the worst thing?
His love of
I don't.
sky
I couldn't think of anything that he's done that would be worse than that.
Yeah.
Look,
Now
he went to jail for the rape. Jail means you don't have to say sorry.
Doing
Jail is
jokes and
saying
matches.
sorry.
He's a rape. He's a rape man. What of it?
Look,
I
he
saw a
hasn't
60
raped
Minutes report. I
anybody since. I
saw a 60-minute report later on where
I
it found
believe
out. God damn it!
I know. I got him on this
in
tangent.
rehabilitative justice.
I don't
Tyson
think he
hasn't
did.
raped anybody since. It's fine. Fucking Mel Gibson hasn't said anything bad about the Jews since. It's fine.
No.
Michael
I-
Vick hasn't killed any dogs since. It's fine. They're
I challenge him on
rehabilitated.
if you drags it into this.
This is a lie that I actually saw live because I actually watched a few episodes of this. On Hogan Knows Best, Hulk Hogan claimed that the reason he didn't get the offer for doing a George Foreman type grill situation was because he was picking up his kids from school.
That is my
when he got called.
favorite one. Because it's so fucking fundamentally stupid on every fucking level. Where it's like,
he's like an anti-Forrest
except for,
Gump.
like,
An
the
anti-Forrest
part-
Gump. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
except for the part where it's like, okay, the people probably made this shitty fucking grill that makes rubbery fucking ass fucking hamburgers, and they're like, okay, we need a celebrity endorsement like every dog shit fucking
And it would have
product
failed if it
does.
was him. Nobody would have looked at it.
Like,
Looked at me. He would have been
if they're
repellent
gonna
for that
do
product.
that, was he already doing the
You
fucking
think
Rena Center commercials at this time?
I
was
think
that
he
late?
was.
Are you going to get to Pasta Mania? Is Pasta Mania on your list anywhere?
I don't think Pasta
it might
Mania
be.
is a lie. Because
I mean, it's not a lie, but it's just.
I mean,
nuts.
It's just a shitty dumb thing that he did.
That was
now
the
you
villain origin story of a certain beluga whaled fucking headed motherfucker. Hogan, that's not how fucking this deal would have went down. They would have contacted your agent or a manager or fucking something and been like, hey, we would like to use the Hulk Hogan name for this dumb fucking product. Also, I want to say something.
They go cold. That's what happens with endorsements. For multi-million-dollar products, for endorsements, what they do is they cold call a bunch of people, and then whoever answers first gets the multi-million-dollar endorsement. That's how that works.
Also, imagine if that actually did happen, and there was a fucking phone conversation with George Foreman, the motherfucker who had so much fucking brain damage. He literally named all of his children, including his daughter, George Foreman Jr., because he couldn't remember any other fucking name.
Well, boy, talk about mom dropping the ball.
Well, she had to go along with it because otherwise he wouldn't be able to remember their names.
Yeah.
Say, look, I'm not going to inflict this on my children and myself every time I answer the phone. No.
I think technically the daughter's name is Georgina.
That's fucking awesome.
But it's just imagine having a conversation with
my
that
phone died.
man, and and it being like, oh yeah, this is the guy we want to. No, they contacted George Foreman, his fucking people, and they were like, hey, but it's just, it's so stupid. Also, too, air fryers are the new George Foreman grill. I'm calling this now. They're a fad. They won't be here in 10 years.
Air fryers are just ovens. The oven is technically an air fryer. It's not going away.
I'm going to start saying over at the end of my sentences so you guys know when I'm done talking and you don't just wait for me to have like a bunch of dead
I never
air
wait for you.
The delay is so profound, it won't even matter.
I return steamroll over you. That's how I deal with this.
I know, Go. You're
You had to wait for me to finish that sentence.
Hulk Hogan.
No, I just lost the train of thought.
Barrel on,
really
Lundy. Barrel on.
Back in his heyday.
Boom, baboon is what you are. Fuck off.
Back in his heyday, Hulk Hogan claims that he traveled between the United States and Japan so frequently.
There we go. That's the one I was
that
thinking.
he worked a total of 400 days in a single year.
Let that sink
Because
in,
it's
audience,
crossing the time zone.
I know the kind of people we have listening to this show. It might take them a moment to realize what's wrong with this. There's only 365 days in a year. 366 if it's a leap year.
And traveling between the United States and Japan doesn't change that because you see, if you travel one way and then you come back, then it doesn't change the time at all.
He thinks it's like a ratchet effect. You know, you can only turn the ratchet. You can only turn the gear in one direction because there's a ratchet. He thinks that's how time works. You know, again from the other dimension. So it's like it goes in one.
So every time he traveled to Japan, he just added like 12 hours onto the year.
Yeah, like
technically,
if you drive to the West Coast, drive to the West Coast and back. Drive to the West Coast and then come back, and that takes you a few days. And what you do is you'll recover those 3 hours every time you go back. You just add that to your life.
Wait, no, technically, by his dumb logic, wouldn't he be losing days because Japan is in tomorrow? Over.
Ba 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 boom ba ba boom ba 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 boom ba 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 boom ba 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 boom ba bum bum bum.
Oh fucking hell!
Okay. You're not gonna provoke me, go over.
And yes, you're not. It would be the time would have to be if the time was going backwards. If he had gone into an earlier time, and then the ratchet effect took effect, then he would be gaining days. You know, but. Yeah, again, stupid on every level, scientifically illiterate, and intellectually mediocre. Yeah, that's Hogan.
Fuck, we need to
our
ask
favorite
Nick
man
about this, Lundy. Because Nick is the math
He's our math guy.
So, like, Nick might... Because, like, remember, I ran Steiner math by him that one time, and Nick was actually like this actually
it actually checks out. That's the funniest part about Steiner math. It actually does check out.
Way. Scott Steiner was actually fucking correct.
Yeah.
Presuming all variables to be true.
Yes, the application of those variables was in question.
It's
but,
weird.
You know, the math does check out.
But like the weirdest thing too, right, is I have sent that to numerous math people I've known on the internet, and every one of them's like, yeah, it actually does kind of check out over.
My favorite part about that whole thing is kind of subtle because it's right in the beginning. Well, it's like normally you have a 50% chance, but there's 3 of us in there, and I see Kurt Angle. He knows he can't beat me, and he's not even going to try. I just picture Kurt Angle like coming to the ring and like going, "Oh, that's Scott Steiner over there. Well, fuck this.
Well, fuck that."
Just like giving up upon seeing him and like, all right, well, this isn't going to work. That's Scott Steiner in that ring. I didn't think this through.
I wasn't the most consistent viewer of TNA. Was that promo during the Perk Angle era? Because maybe
I think so. I think it was.
Scott was referring to like, look, dude, Angle's going to be so zooted. He ain't even going to know we're going to be fucking there. He's probably gonna fucking think he's in the Olympics or something.
I just imagine, like, even in the if you're like playing along with kayfabe as a fan, and they cut multiple promos talking about how they're going to kick each other's ass week after week, month after month. It finally happens, and then one of them is walking down the aisle like, God damn it! I just can't.
I can't beat him. I'm just gonna go ahead.
What was I playing at? I mean, you'd almost love to see it. I'd love to see that happen, and where they're just getting near the angle. And, let's say somebody's like, you know what?
Yeah,
Can't beat
it's
this
sort,
guy.
It's
I
sort
don't
of
even
my
know.
thing. I
Oh,
love
look.
the idea. I've mentioned this before. Like, I just really want like a video game where like a fucking like big badass like evil guy who's like in charge, in charge of all the bad things happening. It's like approaching the heroes and it's just like, you should just surrender now. And the heroes is like, all
You
right.
talk me into it.
Wait,
You know
really?
what? You know what? You talk
That
me right.
shit just would be funny as fuck to me.
And then
Well,
it
that
just
kind of
goes
happened
into
in an
the
episode of Star Trek
Darth
Deep
Vader
Space Nine.
bit, where it's just like,
That
really?
happened in an episode of Deep Space
Like,
Nine.
I didn't even give you a reason. I just said surrender. I didn't even threaten your
And you were like,
lives,
all right.
your loved ones' lives, the fate of the world.
I mean, I
Just
didn't
like,
even
hey,
really show my power
should
yet. I could have at
this,
least shot some lightning out of my hand.
are you fucking with me?
You don't need,
Am I
Darth.
on
You don't
fucking
need to.
Thorium
Honestly,
Hell
I've had
Punk?
it. I thought, Darth, don't even bother with the Dark Lightning. Honestly, it was in the back of my mind that this whole thing was bullshit. And you know what? You just saying that, you're so assertive into this, and it just sort of brings it all together for me. I really don't fucking care about this rebellion at all. I don't even know how I got wrapped up in this. I'm vulnerable to peer pressure. And that's why I'm here, and that's probably why I'm agreeing with you now, and
See,
I'm
this
fucking
would
tired of
just-
it. So you know what? Fuck it.
And see, at me, if I was a
Yeah.
villain, this would just trigger my weird, like, why? Like, kind of like with people who call themselves my friends, where it's like, why? Why do you do this? I'm awful. Like, why are you joining me? I'm evil. I literally
I was gonna
have
say
fucking skull.
there's a decent.
But, like, you see this skull? This ain't a hobbit skull. This is a baby skull. Toddler. I literally ripped a toddler in half to take this skull from a fucking armor. You're gonna join me? What the fuck, dude? Lundy, that would be a fun story. It's like it kind of like the heroes become the villains, and then the villain becomes the hero because the villain
Okay,
is
killing a
just so
toddler. What's
flummoxed
next
by
on the
the
Hulk Hogan
heroes
list?
joining him. He's
Another 15
like-
tangents.
okay, this is fucked up. Yeah, fuck you. My
Now
internet's
we
doing
all know.
slightly better now, Goat. So the tangents are coming.
I don't know if that's true, but okay. So Elvis Presley. In Hulk Hogan's autobiography, he claimed that Elvis was a huge Hogan fan before Hogan joined the WWF. And while Hogan did work in Memphis in 1977, Elvis died in 1977.
Okay, so more alternate dimension timeline problems.
It was not that.
Check.
Along those same lines, Hogan claimed that both Metallica and the Rolling Stones wanted him as their bass player. And Metallica member Lars Ulrich had come to Hogan himself to ask him to play with the group.
When
So this
asking for
is-
comment, Lars said, "Ha ha 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 ha." No, who the fuck is that?
So yeah, that's a fairly well-known whopper because Hogan, because out of all of his lies, that's the one he's probably repeated the most. Because
Does
we
he like
brought it up.
does he
little
get challenged
earlier.
on it a lot? And he's like, "No, I swear to God."
Here's the thing that
He
he doesn't,
does get
and
pushed
here's what's worse about all this crap.
sometimes.
Very rarely. I mean, he actually, like when they did, ESPN did an Andre the Giant biography, and they love anything involving Hogan. They want to get him on camera, and he tells his bullshit stories and then the wrestling community has to go, no, 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 didn't happen, couldn't have been that way, wrong. And he's just kind of shitty about it. Like he's saying, like, Andre wasn't telling me what the match was going to be, so it turns out I planned the whole WrestleMania match because he didn't do anything and I did it all. Of course, he remembered that now Andre actually is dead and not in a position to refute this. So he's like, actually, I did everything. And in Andre's own fucking thing, and which would not have been the case, Andre knew how to plan matches. He was planning them long before Hogan. He knew exactly what to do, and that was an Andre match, pretty much by the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But
Hogan
also,
claimed
Lundy,
that he had been
real
offered.
quickly, sorry, before you get into this one, this does make sense because we did bring it up like a little earlier, where like Hogan and like it became more and more common because like you did have people like Tess later on who didn't come from like any kind of athletic background, but like Hogan was kind of an anomaly back then, where the only tangentially athletic thing he did was like he was like a fucking beach bum at Muscle Beach. Like he just played fucking guitar. So that's why I think like he constantly repeats this fucking guitar, this fucking basis for Metallica bullshit, because it's like really the only thing he ever actually did outside of wrestling that he probably has any kind of pride for. And I'm including his children in that.
Hogan
Probably.
claimed that he had been offered and turned down a so-called, quote, Legends match at WrestleMania 22. The alleged match, Hulk Hogan versus Greg Valentine.
So Thorium,
Okay.
I
don't like that match
I'm
would not
not
be booked because
good on remembering. I'm not good at remembering.
I'm not capable of
which
talking.
WrestleMania took place at, because
you're cutting out. I
I'm
didn't
a
hear any of that.
mush mouth and I have a mush brain that can't remember dates really.
And you're also disconnecting.
And you're also
every
cutting
other
out, so I
word.
don't know the question, even if.
Over.
We're just gonna go with over. Now this isn't really like a lie. This is more just an embarrassing moment for him. So I don't know.
Okay.
When Hulk Hogan ran for president, you remember that he did that.
I remember him saying he did. I don't even know if he actually. That probably is a lie
That's
too.
when
Probably
he was
didn't
in-
file out the bullshit paperwork. Yeah, the
Nah, he
NWA.
didn't.
He's true. He did that. He went on
Yeah.
Leno. He went on Leno and just
Yep.
said that to pump up a pay per view.
Jay Leno asked Hogan what his platform was. Flat tax, brother. Jay asked him to explain what a flat tax is for the folks at home. Hogan then stammered before coming up with the number 16%. Jay asked him how he came up with that number, at which point Hogan mumbled something about 16% being higher than 15%.
It's just him being a buffoon in public to promote some
Yeah.
bullshit. That's not
just him
even.
being retarded.
I don't even. I don't count that.
It's
It's
an
just.
embarrassing moment for him.
It's just
not a
him
lie.
being. It's just
him
the
being
desperate
dumb.
days. The desperate days of WCW when they just tried any stupid thing to get eyeballs on that product, and it was doomed. So that's a whatever. That's just a wrestler being a carny douche.
Real quickly, going back to the other one, the WrestleMania 22. I'm not good at remembering which year is the
Your
WrestleMania.
microphone will not let you ask this question because I did not hear
I
that.
guess it's a cursed question. I'll never know what year WrestleMania 22 happened.
Here's how it happens every time. WrestleMania 20. Yeah, and so WrestleMania 20. That's what I hear every time you say it.
So
It's like it will not
during
allow that.
WrestleMania 22 happened in 2006, Matt.
Okay, yeah, that's all
Okay.
I wanted to know, because like
Okay, well,
Greg Valentine, he's easily forgotten nowadays because the 90s were not kind to Greg Valentine. But it's like,
no, I saw Greg
there's
Valentine
no
in the
way
local
in
show. I saw Greg Valentine in the local show.
2006
No, he might have been. I think he was kicking around some
He was still
dates
doing
into
stuff in 2007.
into the aughts.
well,
But nobody
sorry,
would.
when I say
That's not a block. That's not a WrestleMania match. That's not a WrestleMania
Yeah.
match that anybody
well,
would
what I
want.
mean, Thorium, when I say the 90s weren't kind to him, is like, he kind of backed a lot of wrong horses. Like, he was on a lot of shit shows that tainted him for a few years. Heroes of Wrestling being probably the biggest one.
Heroes of Wrestling, that was just the boys realizing that this money mark is just going to throw cash out, and we're going to put in the laziest performance with a couple of rare exceptions on that show. Like, Tully Blanchard tried his damnedest, and Stan Lane tried his damnedest to get that, to have a match that was worth the damn. Everybody else saw, like, I'm not even trying anymore. Everybody was whiffing their finishers like by 100 miles away, and no one cared. And because they saw a weak promoter, and that's actually that Heroes of Wrestling. The real story of that is that how the boys, the wrestlers, who we often feel very bad for because they're often very badly treated, if left to their own devices, that was a guy who was opening up their wallets to give them the biggest payday that they would have ever had on the biggest platform they would have ever had in years and years, maybe for the last time. And they phoned it in so hard. They crapped up that show with terrible match after terrible match. Guys who knew better did dumb shit because they didn't fucking care. They were just going to take his money. So keep that in mind when we criticize Vince and we criticize Eric Bischoff or various promoters. Wrestlers are scummy too, and they will,
they're all
they will
carny.
pick your pocket.
But I would say there is a second passable match on that show. I'm not a big fan of either guy, but the Cowboy Bob Orton and Jimmy Snuka match was like not the worst thing that happened.
Again,
that fucking
Snuka not even bothering with his
a very
actual
big
finish.
margin.
Just does like a weak, like a weak. What, he didn't do like a crossbody off the second turnbuckle instead of doing the Snuka, instead of doing the Superfly Splash. He's like fuck it. Like, it's the last thing you might ever do on a pay-per-view. You couldn't you couldn't pull it out of them one time.
They might have called an audible at the end there, because if you remember, the big problem with that Jimmy Snuka Cowboy Orton match is the fact that the fans realize, like, oh, Bob Orton, Bob is a faggot, clap, clap, clap. Bob is a faggot, clap, clap, clap.
You say it one more time. I'm not sure I got the message.
Bob is a faggot. Clap, clap, clap.
And you know what's funny? It's really funny watching, like, Bob Orton progressively get fucking angrier at it in the match.
You know what's fun? My favorite Bob Orton story. I don't have a lot of Bob Orton stories, but there was
that match.
No, I mean, here's one like Bob Orton story. Like the Bob Orton, he's a second generation wrestler, which makes Randy a third generation wrestler. But Dick Slater, considered to be one of the toughest guys in wrestling, a guy who was very happy to have locker room fights and can just beat the crap out of almost anybody. Famous for flushing Sting's head down the toilet back in the territory days, and then strangling Ultimate Warrior, who was his tag team partner. So, "Are you going to do anything about it?" And he's like, "No." And Bob Orton, apparently he got sideways with Dick Murdoch, and Dick Murdoch, apparently now he realized this is just a thing he likes to do. He snatched him, beat him up, and flushed his head down the toilet right in front of his father, and basically looked at his dad as like, "You going to do something?" And Bob Orton Sr.'s like, "Oh, no, that's your business." As it's just child head of being flushed down the toilet. That's just my only Bob Orton story that I know, and it's just I mean, no, a couple others.
I know.
Hep C, and he had Hep C and was bleeding in a match with the Undertaker. There was that.
Yeah, that's really the only Bob Orton story that I know is the Hep C shit.
And again, being old enough to remember the angle with I remember him on Piper's Pit debuting. My older brother was a huge Roddy Piper fan, and he would tape those religiously on the very first VCR our family owned. And I remember Bob Orton being around, so
Bob Orton's another one of those guys where it's like I said earlier, I'm not a big fan of his, but like, again, the 90s were not kind to him, and to be fair, unlike Greg Valentine, he kind of fucking deserved it by not telling anybody he was wrestling with fucking Hep C for years. But like, you watch him in the 80s, and
gross.
It's like, okay, I get why like this dude was like big shit. Like, I get why people would want to see him.
He looks like a tough guy. He looks like a guy who would kick your ass.
Yeah, you watch him in the 90s, and just a bunch of fucking kids.
I didn't even know you could watch him in the 90s.
And he can't do anything about it. I mean, he popped up occasionally. I think he was in WCW for a bit, because at some point everybody was basically in WCW.
You know, there was a lot of people with cowboy gimmicks, but I think the best one ever for his agent work, not even his wrestling work, was a guy named Blackjack Lanza. He was a tag team partner with I forget another guy with the Blackjacks. I think it was Blackjack Mulligan.
As a
And
joke, I was
they
going
were to
to say,
they were to, I was going to say
the new
Blackjack Lanza.
Blacks.
Blackjack Lanza was very influential as an agent behind the scenes in terms of guiding an early Stone Cold Steve Austin to the gimmick that would basically be the biggest in wrestling ever. Lanza had a lot to do with that, and as a result, Austin always wanted Lanza to be his road agent. It was Lanza who pretty much figured out that, you know, you're a babyface, but don't go like trying to hug people or high five anybody or any of that. You know, you're just there to kick some ass and do that. And basically helped almost smuggle that in past Vince, who always wanted, you know, his baby faces to act a certain way. And then basically he started doing a lot of that and refining a lot of the Stone Cold's gimmick on house shows and saying, like, this is how you handle it. This is how you do this. Like teaching him the psychology of it and really getting that gimmick over. Like most people don't realize how important Blackjack Lanza is to wrestling.
And then
Anyway, we're talking about Hogan being a moron. Let's not talk about good wrestlers. Let's talk about selfish assholes.
Yeah, we went in a real cul-de-sac there.
Mm-hmm.
Hogan claimed that he was blackballed from Hollywood because he turned down a gay producer's advances in the 1980s.
But he wasn't blackballed from Hollywood. They made
true.
horrible movie after horrible movie. They kept hiring him.
But a gay producer tried to fuck him and he said no, and then he didn't do all the movies he totally did.
Also, I'm pretty sure at least 2 of his 3 movies came out in the 90s.
Well, I do remember him, according to Jericho's book, he said that Hogan would tell people, you know, the reason I wasn't a big action star in the 80s is because we had Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger. These were the biggest ever, and the market was just too crowded.
Yeah, two people
just crowded out the market, and, you know, everybody was about them. So even though, you know, he just couldn't find his in, but then Jericho was like, we've seen your movies, man. You did make them. Those are fucking awful. So not buying that because...
Also, too, even if they weren't awful, you have a skullet.
Hulk Hogan claimed that he was the one who came up with the idea for the NWO. However,
that's a good one.
His version of it was going to be him, Booty Man, and the Nasty Boys.
Well, I mean, I can believe that he wants his bros and his friends and gimmicks with him. That's something he's consistently done.
The only thing that shocks me about
that wasn't his baby.
The only thing that shocks me about that Thorium is he didn't include Brutus Beefcake.
Booty Man was Bruce Beefcake.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
Booty
he
Man.
was. I forget that fucking. That's what.
That was one of his
called
many
him in
gimmicks.
WCW.
In fact, no, Hogan had to be talked into the NWO thing because he was still very nervous about, you know, giving up his babyface persona because it was a career risk. I mean, even though people were very tired of it, there was no guarantee that
They
was
really should have
over.
fucking just let him sink and just been like, you know what, let's literally get anybody else to also be in the NWO.
Honestly, I actually did
make
see
it
that live.
fucking
I did
pick
see
Ric
that
Flair.
live. Somebody rented that in the dorm I was in when I was in the service. And I watched that happen. And I remember thinking, wow, holy crap, a Hulk Hogan I can enjoy. Because that's some funny shit. And I'm entertained for the first time in my life. I'm entertained by Hulk Hogan.
I mean,
Awesome.
it was a good, like, that moment was.
Except for Heenan
good,
ruining it. Except for
ultimately.
Heenan ruining it. He doesn't get nearly enough hate for, you know, ruining by. But whose side is he on as he's coming down? And as soon as he said that, I'm like, oh, he's going to turn on him. And then he does. So you just gave it away. This thing that you like. He does not get enough scorn for that. Heenan, you know, ruining that.
It's just
Hulk Hogan
like.
claims that Harley Race.
I'm sorry, go
Power
ahead,
through.
Lon.
Power through.
Hulk Hogan claims that Harley Race came to the arena with a gun in Kansas City in the 1980s, set the ring on fire, and then, when he ran into Hogan, shook his hand, thanked him for all he'd done for wrestling, and asked for a job.
That was a thumbnail on one of the Cornette's podcasts. You can find that. I'm going to see if where. Oh, hold on. Let me find this. because that story inspired a very funny thumbnail.
It's also
Press
just
on.
one of the weirdest fucking stories. And there's been some really weird ones, but it's just like, okay, Harley Race, one of the greats. Like, and here's the thing: I could buy parts of this story. I could buy him coming in with a gun. I could buy him setting a ring on fire. The thing I can't buy is him being like.
Then he adds in
Hulk,
the. You're a pretty
get
cool
me a
dude.
job.
I like you though. I like you
As
though.
like a
You know, again, just the
fucking
coolest dude in the
ring.
room.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah,
you're
I'm the coolest
fucking
guy in the room. You
bed
know, that's what that
and
proves.
I'm blanking on the name of the movie, the Chappelle Stoner movie, where like the dude quits and he's like, "Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You're cool. Fuck you."
And I'm gonna just share this with Lundy because I don't know if I can where to post it. So here you go.
While you're doing that,
There we go.
he claims that he sat next to Kerry Von Erich on a flight to Japan 72 hours before Kerry killed himself.
This is where his shit gets really gross because he also inserted himself into the Benoit conversation by acting like he knew something about something and he knows shit about shit. You know, that's the old Carney him. You know, if there's something in the news, if there's something going on, how do I insert myself into this? How do I jam? How do I seize the attention around this and then put it on me? That's what that is. That's just Carney bullshit. And I sent you the picture.
There's the thumbnail. I put it in the general.
Like, do you think if P had come up like later, like if you plucked Hogan out of the time stream and like put him later on and he gets into wrestling, would he still be this big of a piece of shit fucking liar, or is it just like literally the fucking whole? Because I mean, other wrestlers do lie all the fucking time. Like you hear a bunch, like if you watch enough shoot interviews, like eventually you're gonna
well, especially the old timers, like
contradictory stories.
Like Bruno
so
Sammartino stuck with
motherfuckers is lying. We got
like
Bruno
Sammartino stuck with the story that that Larry Zbyszko really did turn on him in Madison Square Garden, you know, and started off that feud but it was totally a work. But even many years into the whole thing, when everyone knew it was a work, he just maintained it because that's just what they did. Particularly, and Hogan kind of comes out of that tradition of being a liar, and it suits Hogan because I think he's just a naturally full of shit, scummy guy. So wrestling, you know, my buddy John says the same things. The trouble is about the wrestling business is that it's a business surrounding lies and deception, and if you're an asshole, all it did is teach you how to be a bigger fucking douchebag.
Yeah,
that's the risk of the job. It's an occupational hazard.
You know, that's like the thing that interests me so much in like the territory days is like that whole fucking like how that has affected people. Because I wish there was like a legitimate psychological study on old wrestlers and how living that life 24/7 just affected them mentally. Because you hear the old wrestlers talk versus like the wrestlers who came up in like the very late 80s to the early 90s and forward. There's definitely fucking something different going on, like in terms of like how they see the world.
There is an interesting dynamic that I think that, especially with in the days of in terms of maintaining kayfabe, the people who want to or seek out and try to be the biggest baby faces tend to be scummy because that's how they live their life of projecting a good persona to everybody and wanting to be loved in either out of narcissism or covering up their own lies or just feeding their ego. They seek out the babyface spot for that reason. And because that's what their personality suits them, it's a way to paper over their inner scumbag. Meanwhile, the people who are the heels, who are very happy being the heels, They're good at being heels because they actually have empathy and they know what kind of behavior would piss them the fuck off and they understand what would piss the audience off. So they're amazing heels because they're decent people in a lot of ways. Like a great example of that was Beautiful Bobby Eaton. He was almost a lifelong heel, almost anywhere he went, certainly in his biggest work. And he was like a prince of a man that would literally give homeless people, buy them food and clothing and feed the homeless on his travels and do that on the regular. Like,
Since
he would
you've
take
listened
time
to
out
the
and he
Jim
didn't ever do it.
Cornette podcast, have you ever listened to any of the ones where he talks about Sputnik Monroe?
Yes.
Because Sputnik was
Monroe,
the same.
fascinating character.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because Sputnik was like also a
He's
heel.
a heel who was a civil rights hero.
Yes, because he would be like, I'm not going to wrestle in your fucking venue if you treat my fucking
Black fans poorly.
my black fans
he desegregated
like shit. Like fuck
and
you.
Until Elvis, yes, that whole angle what got the biggest arenas in Memphis until Elvis came along. He was willing to get arrested for being in the company of black people, got himself represented by a black lawyer. The whole thing. Granted, it was a way to promote and self-promote and get in the newspapers, but it was ultimately for a good thing, and he was an unlikely civil rights hero as a heel wrestler. And he used to have a thing where,
episode explain something that would always.
But again, another prince of a guy. Let's stop
see.
talking. We don't want to talk about positive wrestlers doing good things. We're here to talk about a scumbag doing stupid things. Lundy, next.
Hulk Hogan claimed that he was the one who convinced Vince McMahon to have the WWF sell merchandise.
Which is retarded.
He's the one responsible. He's the only one. He's the one who came up with the idea. Hey Vince, we should probably sell merchandise. And Vince was like, "Oh my god!"
Out of all of his lies, that one is probably the most retarded. Because it's just like, what are you fucking talking about? That's not even a different universe. That's like a different dimension. Where like they have different laws of physics and shit.
I actually told Vince how to run his entire business. That's why he actually hired me to run his business for him. And I'm a good guy, so I let Vince take the credit.
I'm the CEO at the moment.
Because that was like one of the big fucking fights that fucking Vince and his fucking dad would have. Was like Vince wanted to fucking do a lot more fucking shit. He wanted to modernize shit, do merchandise, like get into fucking like closed circuit television.
Here's the thing, though, and this has been pointed out.
Review stuff.
This
and, like,
has been pointed out by
was
Cornette.
like, really.
This has been pointed out by Cornette, and I think it's important. Vince Sr. didn't want to do those things. At the time, he's probably right to not want to do them. Because if he had done a national expansion, if he had bought up talent, it probably would have been a flop. Because Vince Sr. had a very simple, repetitive way, steady Eddie way of making business, and that's the kind of guy he was. He benefited massively from just having the New York market. He had Madison Square Garden. Run matches, it's almost a license to print money because there's just so many people there who will do some affordable entertainment on the weekends. And it was easy. And he had a simple solution. Yeah. He had a simple thing. Babyface, all-American boy, as your champion, and then nothing but monster heels and shitty people coming after him, and then he would eventually do that. Rinse and repeat for several years. Bob Backlund was their champion for 6 years. That's how.
This is also the other interesting thing
if he did it. Yeah, if he did, I was going to say that if he actually did do
that he was
a cable expansion, it would have been very boring. It would have been very boring. I was going to say it would if he tried that. He would have been very boring because Vince Sr. didn't understand superstar Billy Graham was doing great. He actually, in his story, like Billy Graham was meant to have like a 1-year run. He actually said, let's have a 1-year run and see what we can do with it. But by the end of it, he was so hot as a heel that they could have turned him babyface and it would have been huge. But Vince Sr. was like, no, we got to get that off you and go back to the most boring wrestling ever put on television ever. Because I'm Vince Sr. and that's what I do. No, I think it was Pedro Morales.
But
finally took it from.
Vince Sr. was also so shrewd in his own regard. Because one thing that helped him survive in New York, where the other wrestling promotions failed in the 40s, is Vince tapped into the Italian and the Puerto Rican markets because
He did. I mean,
the only newspaper
Antonino Rocca
that ran
was
the
a
expose
yeah.
on like all the wrestling in New York being fake were the English newspapers, not the Italian.
Yeah, and that's why Antonino Rocca. Yeah,
Or the
Antonino Rocca
Spanish.
was a
Fuck, I
was a
dropped
great
my
one
lighter.
because, and by the way,
That's why I stopped talking. God damn it,
yeah,
that's
the
my only
Antonino Rocca was
lighter.
very. God damn it! Fuck it all. Okay, move on, Lundy. No point. No, abort my point. Move
I
on.
love the Thorium just getting a fucking like just getting the full experience.
I just
of what
realized
to
it's
deal
just
with
not after
on a
the first
weekly
time.
fucking basis.
After the
It's
first
so
time, I just
fucking
pulled. I
great.
pulled the ripcord.
It's
I
the
pulled the
best
ripcord
thing
on that
ever.
point. Yeah, it's just
Hey.
it's over. It's not happening. Moving on.
I want to point out real quick. I fell asleep like 30 minutes ago.
Good on.
Was the Russell talk not keeping you up?
No. My phone died, and I was trying to sit over here with it for a second, and I made the mistake of sitting on my bed. The topic has been funny because this is hell, but
I can't wait for you to edit this.
yeah, I can't wait for you to speed up every 5 seconds.
Why do that? Why truck? Is this fixable?
I should just take all of them and put them on the same start position with each other.
Yeah. Hulk Hogan claimed that he was banned from Letterman because he stopped Letterman from hitting on Linda Hogan.
Hogan
has
is the
appeared
biggest.
on Letterman many times since then.
That was a Courtney.
Also, Hogan is the biggest star fucker in the world. That would never ever happen. So moving on easely.
He would.
Hey, he's
sell
not
Linda
Jim Norton
to Letterman if it meant that he got another one.
How many of these have we done so far?
A decent amount. We still got several more.
Gotcha.
We might
Yeah,
need a
we're
little
almost
quicker,
done.
but we'll see what we can do.
You big baby. Go to sleep.
Hulk Hogan claimed that he used to be 6'9". Then he had some back and knee surgeries, and now he's only 6'4".
Sure, not because that wrestling exaggerates your height as a matter of policy. Okay, moving on. Easy one.
This is
Hogan
like
claimed that he was going.
this is like fucking. Who was that guy Thorium that Dave Meltzer said like they had to take his brain out during the surgery?
I don't know. I don't remember Mental Meltzer saying anything like that. I'm pretty sure the brain needs to stay in the body. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, pretty sure
that sounds
that's lethal.
That's a whole different
episode.
episode. It's just dumb shit Dave Meltzer has said.
Dave Meltzer. I mean, he's quite the mixed bag throughout his career, but I think he's probably smarter than that. I'll just give him that early credit.
Hulk Hogan claims that he was going to commit suicide, having the gun literally in his hand, pointed at his head, and at that moment he got a call from Lila Ali, Muhammad Ali's daughter, and he took that as a sign that he should keep trying to live.
Yeah, another star fucking comment. That's meant to make the news and associate him with someone else.
Laugh.
And also while doing the poor me, I'm in such trouble. You know, again, using the issue of suicide to glom attention onto himself. Not a single person believes that he would kill himself. He got far too big of an ego for that.
Way too much of an ego for that.
Yeah, the people who kill themselves are, essentially what happens in a nutshell is that people think I'm a burden on everybody. Like they almost like accountability themselves to death. Hogan is the opposite of accountable to anybody ever. Nah. So fuck you. Fuck your bullshit.
Realized
and
Jim Cornette is Cotton Hill in that fucking thumbnail.
Yeah. Hulk Hogan claimed that Vern Gagne?
Gagne.
That Vern Gagne got Nick sorry. Nick Bockwinkel.
That is a funny name, but he actually was a pretty outstanding wrestler for a while. He was the head of that territory.
Yeah, and if you look at him, he's somebody you would not want to get into a real fight with, which is important to this lie.
He claimed that Vern Gagne and Nick Bockwinkel, he got them to shoot on him during one of their AWA title matches, and Hogan shot back and won the fight.
Hogan has never won a referral fight in his life and never will.
Especially against Nick
The end.
Bockwinkel. Like Nick Bockwinkel
Not against
isn't
those old
like-
fucking crusty fucking wrestlers that are used to people. Like, essentially, that was the generation of wrestlers that they were taught enough shoot wrestling because it's a fairly common event for somebody to get cute with them and they need to stop it.
Hogan said that he wanted to drop the title to Piper in 1985, but he didn't think Piper would be willing to lose it back to him.
And then
On the opposite is true. Piper understood who and what Hogan was, and he understood that that would never happen. But it would be Hogan forever. He was such a politician. So Piper kind of played his own political game by saying, "Okay, I'll never be champion, but in return, I'll never lose clean, as a heel, and I'll keep that going forever. And that's how I'll maintain my mystique as a wrestler, because it's not going to come on the back of challenging and failing over and over for a belt that somebody's not going to drop." And also, that era of wrestling, you did not have heel champions unless they were transitional champions that were meant to have it like an Iron Sheik have it for like a minute to lose back. So that was not a thing that happened in the business where the heels had a run. That came way later. No, so just no.
Or fucking, it's funny. 20 years later, this would all replay with Brett and fucking Shawn Michaels.
We mentioned before how Hogan was incredibly resistant towards going heel because he'd only ever done the babyface thing.
Except for like a brief part in his early career. He did actually debut as a heel.
When he came, fact, when he came in, when he came into WWF first under Vince Sr., he was a heel. And not only was he a heel, he was a racist heel. Because this was, I forget if it was fucking, it was either fucking Junkyard Dog or fucking Coco Beware. And he was feuding with him, and like Hogan was just like, fuck this guy, like black people shouldn't be allowed to wrestle.
However, in spite of his hesitancy and with the NWO and Hollywood becoming a heel and all that sort of thing, apparently he claims that he wanted to turn heel on Warrior at WrestleMania 6. But Vince
hell to the no, utterly ridiculous. Not only did he not want to turn heel, he still wanted to be the guy. The shot of him like sort of leaving the ring and holding the belt while crying and weepy, that was entirely done by him to get sympathy on himself so the audience can go, "Oh, poor Hogan, you lost your title," instead of just going in and handing him the belt, shaking his hand and doing it. He always he added a little spice to do that. And that basically their hit piece, like the self-destruction, the Ultimate Warrior, Hogan kind of gave the game away by saying like, "Yeah, I'm looking at that and everyone's looking at me leaving. They're not looking at the guy in the ring," to try to get that myth up. So that is not a guy who was like trying to be heel. If he wanted to go out in a heelish way, he would have improvised something to do that instead of trying to be the sympathetic boy who lost his title. Yeah. And so just no.
I should have said this at the start, but this episode's dedicated to a real one. Iron Sheik, a fucking hater to his last fucking day. Did you see?
He wasn't writing his own. He wasn't writing his own Twitter. He wasn't writing his own Twitter. There's an organization that writes his Twitter for him.
I know, but literally the
same as Virgil.
Last tweet before he died was "fuck Hulk Hogan," and it's just like, yeah, like I like to think that was his last fucking thought as he just escaped this
as he's on his deathbed. Iron Sheik is just he's in full regalia on his deathbed.
It is a pretty fascinating.
It's
a pretty fascinating business. Like essentially, those people. There's a company that basically said, "Hey, aging wrestlers, you want a social media presence? We'll be your social media presence." They had Virgil too. Like even though his tweets were pretty funny because he wasn't writing them. They basically said, we're going to meme you into relevance, and all you need to do is just let us use your image, and you get a cut of that, and you just basically sit and cash a check. Essentially you're just licensing us your image so we can do, your Twitter thing for you. I don't know how that business, I don't know how it makes money, but that's what they did. And Sheik's brain.
They probably do like T-shirts and shit. Is how they make money. Like
it gets more
mugs.
eyes on his Twitter account when he's going to conventions. It gets more eyes on when he goes to conventions.
Hulk
Did he
Hogan
go to
claimed that
Yeah,
Tatsumi
he did.
Fujinami tried to shoot on him in Japan and steal the WWF title. However, Hulk beat him.
Just no.
Just no.
Yeah, no. By the way, Tatsumi is one of the guys who Bret Hart looked up to. Like,
the only
he
fight
is
he
the
ever won
bar
was against Richard
that
Belzer,
Bret
and
Hart
basically
his
Richard
entire
Belzer put his
career.
Richard Belzer put his head into let Hogan squeeze his neck on a TV show, and that was the only
And to be
fight
fair,
Hogan ever won.
Thorium, with that fight, Hogan didn't even get the win solo because Gravity did most of the fucking work with that one.
It'd be like saying, like, here, let me put you in a chokehold. Okay, and then he actually chokes him. I win. Okay.
Yeah, like if he had just
well done.
left it at the sleeper hold, like that would have been one thing. But the real dick move Hogan did was just dropping him straight to the
let him flop and smash
floor.
the back of his head.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because Belzer, and this is where Vince understood who and what he was. Like, they sued him. Belzer sued them over that. He got like $1 million settlement out of it, according to Belzer. But then came on to his show the next day and said, they have a WrestleMania coming up, and look at what these scumbags did to me. And meanwhile, Vince is like, this is the best money I ever spent because you're just out on your show telling people that we're a bunch of badasses who can kick your ass, which is exactly what I want.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of some of what was reportedly said by Vince when he bailed Jimmy Snuka out of jail, and the detectives are like, well, you know what, maybe you ought to talk to us because, this is really bad for your company. And then Vince allegedly said, okay, do you think it's bad for my business that somebody that my wrestlers are dangerous guys? I'm in the garbage business. I don't care what they think. So if true, that it does track. And I don't know, again, alleged, not clear, but it tracks.
Hulk Hogan on Arsenio Hall, quote, "The things I am not a steroid abuser, and I do not use steroids." But
okay, so all right,
that was
sure.
the last one, I think.
To be fair,
I thought you were about to go racist. I thought it was about to be, I am not a racist. I am not a racist.
It's kind of on that same level. It's like, I'm not a racist, but...
To be fair, he did say things I'm not before he said but.
I'm not a racist. I'm not on steroids.
So that's the last one you saw, Matt, but that's because you didn't click on show more replies. This goes on for a fucking while, bud.
Yeah, but I've read those. It's not actually.
Do you want to just pile them up? Do you want to just pile them up and rapid fire them?
You've read the actual lies.
Get through 3 of them and then Matt.
No, there's more lies here, Matt. There's the lie where he said that he was present when Andre took a jump in a hotel bathtub and that singular dump filled it all the way up to the taps. There is, which apparently, from what I've heard, Andre did actually shit in hotel bathtubs.
Oh shit! I didn't fucking see these ones. These are new to me then.
There's Hogan claimed that he and Antonio Ianaki had a match in Japan where Hogan apparently beat up Antonio Ianaki so badly that Antonio Ianaki died, then got brought back to life via CPR after the match. And that is why Hulk couldn't work in Japan for a while, because the Yakuza were after him.
It's actually the great Antonio that brought him back to life.
Sure thing, Hulk.
Yeah.
Okay, what else we got? Yeah, you're the baddest man on the planet, except for all evidence to the contrary. All right, go on.
Great Antonio.
He's only the baddest man on this planet. Great Antonio is the baddest man on Uranus.
Hogan, in his autobiography, claimed he batted an unheard of .714, sorry, in the Little League World Series. In fact, it was so unheard of that to this day, the Little League has no record of a Terry Bollea ever having played in its World Series.
He probably thought that they didn't keep records because it's just for kids.
Yeah. In high school, Bollea never wrestled, except for one day where he claimed his gym teacher, also the wrestling coach, made him wrestle a recently graduated, quote, champion of champions. Not only did Bollea pin him, but he also pinned his gym teacher right afterwards. I was just so in the zone. So when
That
the gym
sounds
teacher
really
pulled me off, I thought I was wrestling
homoerotic.
with my gym teacher.
Yeah, because that's just not going to get your ass whipped by the fucking gym teacher and every adult around you.
See, I was gonna have like a long drawn out thing about like how the gym teacher had set up champagne or something before he did that, and then Matt just went, he's a homo.
The gym teacher is like, okay, this wrestling match is going to be in my living room, and we're going to put down some sheets, and I got this other guy, he's a champion of champions. I need you to rub this oil all over your bodies. Okay, you go right ahead. I'm just going to set this camera up over here. All right, go right ahead, and then we'll have a little wrestle, Hulk.
Maybe Bollea did pin them. Maybe that's what they wanted.
So, okay, you know, maybe that's entirely true. We're just missing context.
Molestation is based.
Lifelong fan of wrestling, growing up watching his hero Dusty Rhodes on TV, it was Hogan's first live event, where he was 9, that the young Hulkster saw Dusty Rhodes beat Dory Funk Sr., and he's been hooked ever since. Except that Dusty didn't debut until 1967, and Hogan was 14 at the time.
Okay, again, more dimensional time travel problems. Easy one.
You know, Matt. Sorry.
Well,
According to Hogan. Okay, go ahead.
I was gonna
Gotcha.
say, I've only been conscious for about 55% of this podcast. It's been a pretty good topic.
Probably for the best, honestly. It's been pretty...
Look,
It's a lot of Hogan. Honestly,
Fuck you,
no, it's
you
a,
know
I mean...
the fucking shit show we fucking produce.
I know, but I
This is
mean, I'm saying,
no
if
different
I
than
if
any
I
other
was...
fucking episode.
yeah, there's
I
I mean,
nothing.
I'm having fun,
Not
but I'm
yelling
having
at
fun,
you
but there
for
is an upside to
Thorium.
missing
Yelling
55% of Hogan.
The grump.
Herbert,
Yeah, I agree. I don't think this one's been bad.
You know, I just
Yeah,
love
you
my-
know what? Fuck you. Oh no, Thorium. I'm not talking to you. Sorry,
Look,
According to Hogan, on the set of Rocky
John
III,
Jacob.
Sylvester Stallone. According to Hogan, on the set of Rocky III, Sylvester Stallone was a really good sport because of word got out that Hogan had power slammed Sly so hard that blood squirted out of his mouth on impact. Hulk would have been blacklisted from Hollywood.
But he
Oh,
already
wait, he
was.
already
I thought he
was
was
blacklisted from Hollywood. For
But-
turning down a gay guy. Oh God! During the course of recording the movie, I had to body slam him, and I body slammed him so hard that his internals all combusted at the same time. And
I like
I'm
how
pretty
you're
sure
Hulk
that
Hogan.
a blunt force impact that would cause blood to spurt out of your mouth is probably means your insides are jelly and you're soon to be dead.
Yeah,
That's
I like
that
how
means.
your Hulk Hogan Lundy is Mr. Satan. And also,
a little bit.
so here's how this can be true. Here's how both of them can be true, right? So, Hulk Hogan wasn't blacklisted from Hollywood for body slamming
Hulk Hogan was
Stallone.
blackface from Hulk.
But Terry Bollea was blacklisted for turning down the gay producer.
Gotcha.
You gotta
In
give that.
1983, Vince McMahon Jr. flew to Minneapolis personally to re-sign Hulk, which was risky according to Hulk, considering that Minneapolis was a very small town back in 1983. It had a population of 1.8 million people, but very small town.
Apparently, again, time traveling to the Old West. Got it.
According to notorious truth teller Hulk Hogan, when he signed with the WWF, Bob Backlund was very upset and jealous. Hogan talked about Bitter Bob not wanting to pass the torch to the incoming star, refusing to appear or tag with Hogan.
Right, bullshit. So Bob Backlund was ready to has had it for 6 years, and he was ready to wind it down. In fact, he was so committed to getting Hogan over. One of the things that he started doing toward the end is it was his recommendation, like his wholehearted recommendation that Hogan's a good guy that basically turned him face. He was starting to get cheers at this time, and Vince was like, you know what? I think this is the guy. You know, he's got a charisma, he's got the look I like. It's going to happen. He takes this to Bob, and Bob even says, you know what? Here's what we. It was Bob with his idea. He went back to his wrestling singlet. He used to wrestle in just the trunks and the boots, the typical pro wrestling outfit. He went back to the singlet to actually have a more old-fashioned look, to make the passing of the torch to the bigger, to make the contrast between them even more profound. Like, this is the next generation. So that's why he did that. So he was very much in on that, understood the whole game, and actually really did help him out with that. So for him to turn around and just say he was trying to scumfuck me was wrong, when in fact he, by all accounts, went out of his way to make that work.
Hogan
So yeah,
said
fuck
this
you, you
about
ungrateful prick.
Hogan said this about drawing the Pope at the Silver Dome. The Pope, God bless him, only filled 80,000 seats, brother. But it was okay. I was preaching the gospel in the ring that day anyway, so whoever came got their dose. The Hulkster,
Yeah.
bigger than the Pope.
Sure thing.
What a boob.
Yep.
You're more Catholic than the Pope. Well done.
After Hogan tore 18 muscles in his back, slamming Andre the Giant, he had to fly right back to Japan, where he wrestled for 29 straight nights. Even though there's no record of Hulk Hogan wrestling in Japan between the years of 1986 to 1992.
Yeah, apparently he can suffer like grievous injuries that would hospitalize most men, and then he just let him wrestle the next time. Honestly, that's the funny part. It makes wrestling sound fake as fuck, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If he's like, I had all these injuries, and then I went and performed, and I
still
went and did all
able
this
to do
stuff.
it no problem, like Jesus.
Look, Thorium, you don't understand. He got a Zenkai boost because of his Saiyan DNA. And he
Sorry, doesn't
fucking...
get DBZ references.
He went over to Japan.
I'm just rolling with it. I mean,
Hey,
I'm
here's
missing
the
lore,
most-
but it's fine.
Here's the most important question that you have to answer. I'm gonna wait for Matt to interrupt me real quick. It's coming. Don't worry, it's coming.
You know he's not gonna do it now. He's not doing it.
Oh,
That's spite.
is that all it took? Reverse psychology?
Yeah.
That's the oldest trick in the book.
It's a Thorium. It really is like a big game. It's like reverse psychology.
I have a
Sometimes
talent
it works,
with,
sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes like his spite drives him in different directions, and you got to kind of like read it by the day.
I have a talent. You might. Some people call it tard whispering.
Okay, pressing on.
Matt,
It's the Lies of Hulk Hogan, the extended edition. We're going.
I fucking knocked a thing off of my bed and it was a lot of shit. That was
According to Hulk,
Oh, I got
Linda
the
Hogan was
TB.
extremely jealous. According to Hulk, Linda Hogan
Linda Jogan.
Hulk
was
joke.
extremely jealous and paranoid about
Brother,
Hulk
you
being
ever
away
see
in
a
Hollywood.
gorilla lift 400 pounds? Pull that up. Nick, pull that up.
Because of her, Hogan had to pass up a film role opposite Pamela Anderson at the height of her fame, and before that, the lead role in Highlander.
Oh, another one where he just missed it by that much. Another iconic franchise that it would have been
because
Hogan.
my bitch of a wife didn't like me being out here doing movies.
Unfortunately, he lost the Highlander casting to Pamela Anderson also.
Can you
That's an alternate dimension movie I'd like to see.
imagine
They wind up blonde with big
Hogan.
tits, but not that.
in fucking Highlander?
That would be.
I kind
that would
of
actually be
do
kinda
want to
funny.
see that.
That would
that
actually.
version,
I
yes.
kind of want to see that.
Well, the Highlander. Well, what was great
For-
about the we know exactly what it'd be like because the Highlander was a B movie. Essentially, it has every trappings of a B movie. At best, cult favorite that somehow just through the charm of the acting and the general cleverness of the plot and the world building worked incredibly well. It like punched way above its weight with Christopher Lambert, that in ways that other people couldn't anticipate, and
There you go.
went on to become a pretty solid franchise. Not like a blockbuster franchise like a Star Wars, but pretty damn good. Got like a long running TV show out of it, and
You know what
yeah,
it's
I
like,
can imagine anyone would have sunk
do you-
that. Anyone would have sunk that.
Do you remember the movie
Fucking
Last
Echo, so
Action
funny.
Hero with Arnold?
I think I saw part of it once a long time ago. I think
Like,
that sucked. That's right. That's right.
Well, it's like
Past
the
Thorium.
one
I agree. It
interesting
really
thing
did
is
suck.
Thorium's
It's like a
sponsor?
throwaway.
Past
Thorium.
Thorium. What did you think of the Highlander TV series?
There's-
I'm gay.
I liked it quite a bit, actually. I mean, I really loved it on
sometimes
USA
I'm not-
Network.
I'm gonna
it really got me.
mistime it. Look, sometimes I'm gonna mistime these fucking things because
I love being my
the
own
fucking
hype man on
delay
the
keeps-
podcast.
fucking going from like 5 seconds to 10. Anyways,
Matt, which one
there's a
of
bit
Hulk Hogan's
in
pose did you-
Last Action Hero because it takes place in a weird kind of alternate timeline, and
I'm waiting for it to get.
there's
to it.
like a scene where like they have a fake movie poster for like Sylvester Stallone in
Yeah, in the
Terminator
place of Arnold's
2,
movies.
and
Yes.
it's like
yeah. Mhm.
I kind of would have liked to see the fucking Stallone version of the Terminator. That would have been weird.
When he was working for the AWA, the Hulkster talks about how he had to make his own merchandise by hand because they were so bad at promoting their wrestler.
That's
he
pretty
returned-
fucked up.
When he
He's a
returned from
merchandise scientist.
when he returned from a tour in Japan, he discovered that AWA promoter Vern Gagna had started producing and selling his own Hogan t-shirts.
Ganya.
Ganya.
Yeah.
Ganya. I'm sorry, it's spelled
Mexican.
Gagne.
Italian.
When asked what percentage of the sales he would
He's an
get,
Itai.
Ganya
They
said,
got weird spelled names.
when asked what percentage of the sales he would get, Ganya said he wouldn't get any, which enraged Hogan. It became so hot that the Olympian wrestler questioned Hulk. How much did Matsuda teach you? Enough to beat you, Hogan answered, prompting Vern to charge him. According to Hulk, Vern's feet slid on the floor, and he fell into a front face lock, and Logan locked tight. When he let go, Vern sprang up, his hair tangled, and his
Hulk
face
Logan.
flushed, and went off to the restroom to regroup, saying, "You're in danger for that!" Vern's son Greg then began taking his
Sounds
sweater
like
off
shit
to
anime.
avenge
It
his
sounds
father.
like shit anime.
Was there
That's what it sounds
someone
like.
in this? Was there someone in the story named Logan, or did you fuck his name up? Because I'm thinking
He said
thinking
Logan,
of
it's fine. But,
Hulk
we're-
Hogan.
but honestly, this Logan guy sounds pretty awesome. He's an anime hero. This Hogan guy is full of shit, clearly.
I'm thinking of Hulk in the Suicide Forest right now.
Vern's son Greg then began taking his sweater off to avenge his father. But
So
David
Hul-
Schultz told him that it was a bad idea, so Greg
Oh
left
no,
too.
brother!
And then Hulk Logan went to the Weapon X program.
And that was pretty much the end of my relationship with
Yeah, not big. He didn't leave the territory for more money. He didn't like Vince didn't say quit in the middle and try to and do it in a way that fucks him over as much as possible, and I'll give you a bonus, just like he did with Junkyard Dog at the same time. And Junkyard Dog also told a lie that but what's widely considered to be a lie that he heard somebody call him the N-word. He heard that promoter call him the N-word. That's why I had to leave and go to Vince, not because you were paid to do it and you got a big fat check for fucking over the promotion. So you have to have a different story as to why you left the way you did.
Fun fact: Junkyard Dog worked for my grandfather during the off seasons. That's an
That is
actual
fun.
truth.
That's pretty fun. Junkyard Dog is a much more interesting. He had a Dark Side of the Ring episode lately, and it wasn't as
it's really
interesting as his
sad.
actual life. It's
He was
kind of
a crack.
sad and also very inaccurate in some key ways. It's one of the not a particularly good episode.
Was he a
Well,
good
it's
crack
like the
smoker?
thing with
Yeah, he
Oh,
was.
sorry,
He was a crack smoker.
Oh,
And
I remember.
well, he
I
was,
remember
but
No,
he's
that wasn't the
not
question
the
he
one you're
asked you.
thinking of. No.
He asked him. He
Well, I
asked
know
you if
which
he's a
crack
good crack smoker.
smoker. I know what crack smoker he is thinking of. He is thinking of New Jack.
No, New Jack said that Junkyard Dog was a crack smoker.
I
And
mean,
that's say he's a good crack
New
smoker.
Jack did it. Fucking Mufasa did it.
Black
we are
people.
almost done, guys. Let me finish.
No, we should go on 50 more times.
In
Yeah,
his
we're talking
2002
about crack.
autobiography,
Yeah.
Hogan claimed
Yeah, man, I love bubblegum.
that he was paying off 2 cars at the same time when he was a teenager, and as a result, gained a hell of a credit score. Even though credit
I know
scores
the
didn't
lie in
exist
that
before
one.
1989.
No, that's not the lie. They were run over on people. Get it?
By the way, isn't that fucked up? Like, you think credit scores, you're like, oh, this was always.
It's a fairly
thing.
recent invention.
No.
Yeah, it's a fairly
Yeah,
recent
just-
invention, yeah.
We just decided to do this bullshit in 1989 because fucking Wall Street or some idiots.
Yeah, so
Um,
Hogan, like, I'm the hardest working man in the world. I'm like a folk hero. That shit. Fuck
Oh.
off.
I like giving credit to my car.
What?
Just, never mind. Just keep going.
Wait,
Do you think he's even a real American? That'd be like the ultimate like twist with Hogan. Is it's like
it's
no,
Canadian.
it turns out he's been here illegally the whole fucking time. Like he's supposed to be back in Sicily or something.
He's
I guess
actually
he's
from
blonde,
Ghana.
so he'd probably be one of the more northern fucking Italians, the mountain ones.
He's an original member of the Tutsi tribe.
Yeah, he's a Nord.
Okay, what we got?
According to Hulk Hogan, during his event at the Silver Dome, the Rolling Stones were scheduled to play the Sunday before him, and he was told, "There's no way you can wrestle next Sunday. The Rolling Stones are here, and you can't possibly follow them." Well, according to Hogan, the Rolling Stones played that Sunday and only got 8,000 people, and Hulk Hogan wrestled the next Sunday and got 40,000 people.
Okay,
So
even
he
if
got
that's
his
true,
satisfaction.
even if that's true, those are different audiences for different events at different times with different interests.
The Rolling Stones only played one gig between 1982 and 1989, which was 1986. Not
Okay. So, like I said, even if he's lying, this is a terrible lie because even if it's true, it doesn't make him look any better. Do you know what the most popular radio show is? Time and Temperature. That's been the most consistent, been on since radio was invented, broadcast all over the place. Time and Temperature, baby.
Look, it's a good show.
I
There's
mean,
no bullshit.
in terms of numbers, you
It
can't
tells you
argue
what
with
it-
that success
what-
because of the numbers. It's fucking stupid. God, now here's the trouble. We've now turned these stop being funny and they're just fucking annoying because they're stupid. Okay,
You know what?
press on.
You're right.
I got 3
Hulk
more.
Hogan, you should kill yourself.
You know what?
Yeah.
Honestly, every time a wrestler passes away, I look at it and think, why not?
We need
Hogan?
to get in contact with Laya Ali and let her know, like, hey, you
Yeah,
saved
she's
his life,
the
now
real-
go end it.
Villain of this story. It's like, why did you fucking call this asshole? We could have been rid of it.
We could have been done with him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
never
let's-
has a man been so overdue for his chest burster.
Let's all swat Hulk Hogan.
Like, why did we lose fucking Macho Man? And I know Macho Man
This is
probably
a call
had sex with a 14-year-old Stephanie McMahon, but it's like, I like Macho Man. But, like, he wasn't
Everyone
this
does.
annoying.
Everyone does.
Everyone
Everyone
does.
does. Everyone loved him more. I mean, he was the better performer, and it was just a case of Hogan being such a really good politician and being the guy that Vince believed was, the guy responsible for the majority of his success, and he always had a
And
bluff
that's like
on
the
a lot of
thing
people.
with
Here's
Hogan.
one thing we can say what Hogan was the best at. He is unquestionably the best politician in wrestling. He is unquestionably the best politician in wrestling. Better than any wrestling, better than any championship reign, better than anything he's ever did. One of the out of the Death of WCW book, there was one little bit of thing that he would do on the regular on almost every promotion he was at, especially when he got more famous. He would especially pull this in WCW because it was a company that didn't understand wrestling. It was new to promoting it at a national level. He would take off during football season, during the beginning of football season, and just start like having a vacation. Like, hey, I need some time off. One of the few wrestlers who can get time off on his own request. And of course, wrestling ratings always drop at the start of football season and pick up at the end because there are people who like both but prefer football. And then every time he would do that, he would like, see what happens when you take me off TV? Ratings go down. And dumbass WCW, in their incompetence, fell for it. And he would use that as a negotiating tactic, and over and over again. So again, some of his bullshit, like I said, why does he tell these ridiculous lies? Because sometimes the ridiculous lies he tells work like a fucking charm. So why not throw them all at the wall? Go on, please.
This is a fucking bizarre. Why? Hogan tells a story about a Japanese woman that he dated back in the late 70s. He had moved on from her and started dating a California woman. When he told the Japanese woman about it, she didn't take it well, and later, Hogan regretted it at his parents' house. What?
She kamikaze to his parents' house.
That's the only explanation I can
Is that
get.
what he was building to? Like she couldn't stand not having that Hogan dick no more, and is like, you know what, I can't go on.
Flew a plane into his house.
I guess. Like I don't
Maybe
even.
that's where he
Okay,
got
what? It's like
idea,
that's where he
yeah,
loses the thought. The
that's
fucking
it.
brain damage, the steroids and the concussions have just It's like this the bullshit story gets aborted midway through. That's what happens with some of these.
I thought it was going to be something
And you're
darker,
just
like,
confused.
oh, she committed suicide.
Yeah, I thought you were going. Oh, she
She loved
committed
me so
suicide or
much.
something. Yeah,
Yeah, she fucking
But, like, he
opened
just-
up
okay.
her sternum with a fucking wakizashi,
Here's
like a
here's the
fucking
full quote.
can of cat food.
When I walked into the house, that Japanese girl was at my house. She was crying when I walked in. I walked in, saw the Japanese girl at my mother's house. Sorry,
No,
the way
went,
he's saying-
"Oh."
the way he's typing this is just the Japanese girl's at my house. I walked in, saw the Japanese girl at mom and dad's at my mother's house, and my dad, I about fainted, especially with the look my dad gave me. I called Horace and I said, "Get your ass over here, get her out of here." Saw her again.
This
What the
does
fuck
sound.
is this story?
This does sound like a story.
And why
Mr.
is Dad
Satan
staring at him? Why is
tell
Dad staring at him like, you
who
fucked up? You needed to be
he
with this
doesn't tell him.
Japanese girl. Why is his dad staring at him, giving him hard looks over this? Like, what did he do wrong? It doesn't even make sense.
His dad wasn't
Probably
actually
knocked her
giving him
up.
hard. His dad wasn't giving him a stern look. He was actually also Japanese.
Oh.
And then he looked at her and he said, "Why are you dating me?"
You
Okay,
have ruined my daughter. You have
She looked at him and
deflowered
said, "Why am I?"
I will say, as a bit of an addendum to this whole thing, someone did comment a response to this thread saying, actually, the George Foreman grill story is true, and linked a video of Eric Bischoff repeating the story.
Okay, that's a trustworthy source. Yeah. Yeah.
Eric
yeah, okay.
Bischoff, known truth teller.
Yeah, obviously he's the final. That is what's so funny about a lot of these wrestling podcasts is that people who are still in the business or they're rehabbing their reputations. Let me tell my side of the story because I was there. You're a lie incarnate. What the fuck? Why would and people
Oh, did you
listen to
see
this
this
shit?
shit?
It's amazing.
Did you see the shit recently with Vince Russo doing his "woe is me" shit, where he's
Yeah,
like,
and
wrestling
he's got hired
fans
by
are
Wrestle. He
so
got hired by
mean to
Wrestle
me,
Crap.
I've given.
He got hired by Wrestle Crap. Wrestle Crap used to literally almost dedicate article after article about how Vince Russo ruined wrestling and what trash he was. But, you know, it's so hard to get clicks and traffic in the age of social media now. They hired Vince Russo, and he writes these low-effort articles with a couple of pictures and probably get... There's another
Dude,
great politician.
this is
A
why
person who...
I can't jerk off the Rhea Ripley, dude. Bro, gotta stop with
Well, then you just
the
lack
golf
imagination.
bro.
Yeah. That's on you, man.
Nope, that's it. That's the,
Oh,
that's the
okay.
list.
That's a weird
That's
one to
so-
end it on.
Yeah,
Right.
this was added like way later on. This is added like
You were
2
going
years
into
later,
the
so
extra, the extras.
This is just like some extra like deep
All right.
lore, fucking like this is just a weird thing we found sort of thing that got added on at the end.
So the question you have to ask yourself at the end of this is, would you have sex with Hulk Hogan?
No,
Yeah.
I would not
That's
have
fine.
sex with Hulk Hogan.
All right, Mac.
And I don't have to ask myself that. I really don't.
I don't kiss and tell.
It'd be
so-
I
funny.
don't have to. It turns out I don't have to do that at all.
We brought this fucking straighty over here to our queer ass podcast.
Well, actually, no. He's a wrestling fan, so he's automatically in the community.
That's true. Honorary gay for being a wrestling.
Oh, is
fan.
that
I mean, to be fair, if I wasn't
LGBTQIAW?
Yes.
if I
Yeah,
wasn't,
that's the wrestling federation.
Yeah.
Got it. I gotta
Welcome
pass this
to-
by. I gotta pass this by my friend in the wrestling business and see
Welcome
Yeah.
to
who is
F.
also
I mean,
LGBT.
he's already gay, so
Yeah.
he'll just
So it's
be
like I'm
yeah.
saying, am I in your community now? Am I
Why
part of
has
the
there
club
been-
because we've
we
added
actually
a W?
done a
You're
Wrestling
part of the
Federation.
federation.
using those
You're part
letters.
of the
I think
Federation Arena Gang.
honestly, my buddy would be actually a pretty good guest for you guys, but I think the tech issues would have him hanging himself.
I'll yell
I-
the N word at him.
Yeah, if I mean, but and that's the worst part about it too, because like
Look.
John and fucking Matt would be.
I don't know what you're
get along
talking about.
So
It's,
well.
it's honestly been.
You probably would. I mean, here's the thing that maybe you need to move over to Mumble Serve. Maybe you'll have less latency or something. I don't know. I don't know the answer to this, but holy crap, I've never seen this.
Here's the thing. It's
I'm gonna take the inverse and say that is the funniest.
This is,
Man, you notice the fact it died the second he tried to like
Particularly
actually make
bad.
a point.
today
Yeah.
because we just got unlucky,
it's
and
not usually
this is the
bad.
time I
Now,
You know what would be the funniest part about this is if his dumbass has been downloading like 5 games at the same time and he just hasn't taken
Even
that
when
into
I haven't
consideration.
looked Steam, something might be
Oh
downloaded on
my fuck!
Steam.
Please,
Well, but I really
Please,
enjoyed
guys.
the part where I was, interviewing myself. That was pretty good.
that was a pretty good.
No,
point.
Yeah, that
there's
was good shit.
nothing downloaded on Steam.
Damn,
Then
you
again,
just
I
suck,
haven't
man.
really downloaded a lot of games on this computer because it doesn't have a lot of fucking
Well-
memory. I mean, not
Lundy and I
Memory
Lundy and I
hard
had
drive
tech
space.
problems that I still don't have answers to, so I can't really
oh
talk.
god.
I've been dealing with
I couldn't
this
do shit
internet shit.
yesterday, like the entirety of the game. I wanted to kill myself.